last.
The king's back and the throne's mine. The future's here and it's my time. Straight shot, going for the head with it. Take his head off and say that I did it. Good riddance. Say hi to the bad guy, back in business. If you took what's mine, I'm back to get it. There's nothing you can do. I'm back with vengeance. Now turn me loose. Now turn me loose.
For those that's listening out there in the YouTube universe, shout out to TheGreyPillPodcast. Go holler at him. Hell yeah. Give him a like and subscribe. Go view his channel, if you will. Courtesy of Classic Lights. For those that's listening.
For all your Spanish watchers and viewers, Telemundo, Univision, Galavisión. Hola, buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches, damas y caballeros. Por favor, suscriben, gusten y por favor compartir este canal de YouTube. Cualquier parte del mundo donde están ahorita, por favor. Familia, amigos o socios de trabajo, lo que sea, por todo el mundo, por favor, suscriben al canal del Grey Pill Podcast, el Pastilla Gris, por favor. Muchas gracias.
I failed. Yeah, I dropped the ball on that one. I appreciate you, Arshawn. Anyhow, so starting over. You saw the thumbnail, you see the title. The topic is shame. So it's a debate between Miss She Said versus Shun, aka Nikki on the left, aka Lola on the right. I know I do. I already had it. I already prepped and ready. I was like, let's go. But it was a debate. I think about a month ago between, I guess, challenge from Lola to Miss Nikki, aka Miss She Said, where they had debate about shame. I thought it was a pretty interesting one because low-key, I was kind of a fan of, well, I am a fan of Lola because I like poking a bear with her on certain panels, and it'd be an interesting conversation. So I don't think too much we disagree on a lot of things. And I knew Miss She Said from other panel before I knew Lola, which is kind of weird. And me and Miss She Said has a lot of vibes. She's from New York, I'm from Jersey. So it was kind of like, brothers, sisters, states across each other, next door neighbors. And I seen Miss She Said on a lot of the panels. I seen her conversate and her takes and her outcomes on a lot of things. So I said, what the heck? So I saw the debate. I thought it was a very interesting conversation, and I wanted to figure out, bring it to the Grey Pill Podcast for the gray areas and open perspective of conversation. So I figured it'd be an interesting one. So we're going to do a reaction to it, get my opinions of it. And then anybody have any input, definitely jump in the chat. And I'm going to drop the link a little bit later and we can dive in on it. I don't want to hear hey, this is my friend, she's cool people. No, get straight to the conversation. What's your agreements, disagreements, likes, your concerns, and that's how we're going to take it from there. So I appreciate everybody for coming on through. Definitely appreciate you, Rashawn. Appreciate you, man. Actually, this is your first time, so I definitely appreciate you for chiming in the chat. I'm sure you probably passed on through, hit the like. So definitely everybody else, if you're a new subscriber, if you're new, definitely hit the subscribe button. Everybody else, please, new and old, hit the all bell notification. Why? Hit the likes. Also, why you want to hit the all bell notification? Because YouTube acts funny. to the point where your favorite subscriber YouTube may unsubscribe from you from that. So be very, very careful. Be very, very careful. Appreciate you, intelligent. Yes, appreciate you, intelligent soapbox, for coming on through. Marcus should be here too because he kept asking me when I'm going live. When I'm going live, so I told him soon. And I had everything lined up earlier today, so now I got to find the actual video, video that I had because I just been watching a whole bunch of stuff at work. And it's been a wild, wild day in these YouTube streets. It's been a wild, wild day. So it's a lot of stuff out there I want to do a lot of reactions to. It's a lot of stuff I want to cover between now and then. So I definitely appreciate everybody. But while we're here, do anybody want to give a stab at the conversation of shame? Like, what do we think shame is? You know, when I first heard the topic, I don't know why I went back to thinking of Game of Thrones when the queen decided to surrender herself. Oh, I found it. Surrender herself to the church, and they let her go because she admitted her guilt. And so as she was doing the walk of shame, had her pretty much butt naked walking down the streets and kept screaming shame, 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 like if that was going to change the queen's mind of doing what she had planned to do. And she only went worse, like level 12 worse, to the point where she actually self deleted everybody with precision. So, all right, I found the video. I just want to scroll back to the actual point of where Lola actually introduced the opening argument. And Nikki, She Says, kind of chimes in. All right, I think I got it. How you doing? Are you amused? I appreciate you for coming on through. All right, that's it. All right, cool. I got it. All right, just for poops and giggles, does anybody understand what shame is? Because I can give you the definition, because there's a lot to cover with it before we get to the conversation. Like I said, I was going by something I saw on the show, but just give it a definition of shame: a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolishness behavior. That's one. And then it breaks down to actual levels of it. What's going on, Mandrell? Mandrell, if you're just coming in, sir, we are going to cover the debate between Miss Shun, aka Lola, with the mouth wide open on the top left, with the bottom right, Nikki, aka Miss She Said, and we're gonna have that conversation from there. So it's gonna be an open panel. So I'm gonna do this a little bit. I don't want to have a bunch of whatever crazy people up here. Not saying nobody crazy. Pretty much everybody know everybody in the chat, so it's all good. But it's gonna be an open panel. But the topic is gonna be about shame. So I want to hear what they had to say with the conversation, because I thought it was a very interesting one. So here we go.
I'm gonna tell you something, right? The shame that
it is a still picture, Lord child.
Shame is it, but you're right, because that's what I really dealing with all the time.
Hey y'all, can't wait. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
I'm not used to using headphones and stuff, but
yeah, I can.
Got family life going on behind me.
I know. I told him. I said if she comes in, it's because she is blowing in and got stuff to do. She like I eat and run and do all this right here.
That looks yummy.
Listen, my plate
is. Hey, love.
Hey.
I thought that was. It is a still picture, Lord child.
It is. You know how I do. You know I be playing in people's faces, honey. I be staying off the camera.
How y'all doing today?
We're doing okay. We're doing okay. We was just kind of doing an introductory discussion about the topic of shame, and I had did a small monologue where I had expressed that when I had seen your post about shame, it had prompted me to ask the question or questions Uh, when did when did we have shame, and why? You know,
Hmm.
did we have it? Whenever we had it, if we had it, and just
You
leading.
never had shame growing up?
No, I'm gonna tell you something, right?
Shit.
The shame that I felt throughout my entire life, right? Despite the country, okay, despite all that,
Hmm.
the shame that I felt has always came from a sense of
All right, at this point, I think we kind of went a little bit too far. It's like that extreme, the shame I felt in this country. How about the shame we felt when we was 1 years old? How about the shame that we probably felt when we was a toddler? How about the shame we felt when we was, in our teens, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that part. But I want to go for this the country. Let's start with birth. Let's start with birth.
adoration for my father, never fear of what someone was going to think of me, but rather losing the adoration of my father. That's where the shame came from, in that I understood how much it took out of him to pour into me. And because I loved him, I didn't want his life to be a waste. So that's where the shame, like for instance, if like my father doesn't like the way I carry myself, I would feel bad, not because other people got a system.
All right. At this point, I'm thinking like, is she saying her dad just gave her like shame all her life? Because I thought parents supposed to give not just only the tools of education, the tools of how the world works. That doesn't necessarily have to mean about shame. It's just you know again, when you're a baby, we show you how to walk, how to crawl, how to eat. Then you can walk on your own 2 feet, how to tie your shoes, how to dress yourself properly, how to clean your room, responsibilities around the house. Shame may interact with that. Let's say, for example, you don't want to clean your room or you do it wrong, or there may be some shaming tactics, or like, hey, shaming tactics could be of, I'm just disappointed in you. That could just be enough of shame to kind of set somebody straight or put them in the right path of just doing a little bit better.
And I need to adhere to a system, it was out of love for him, not out of some obligation to keep my whatever in the house or stuff like that. Like right now, like the reason why I don't argue with family, lovers, whatever the case may be, in public, is because the shame that I have is embarrassing someone that I love, not having a system where, listen, this is just not what we do. It's not coming from no sense of culture. It's coming from purely what's in my heart for the other person. However, the question of
All right. I don't think nobody said about the culture, but I think she's opening up with this one. So I'm gonna be fair with this debate so far. She's opened up with it, but I don't think nobody said culture. So I think she's just opening up with this.
as a culture, as Black people specifically, right?
I ain't gonna lie. I'm sorry. This is just me. This is a personal thing. I get triggered every time somebody bring in the culture, and it's like it's always a black and white thing. It's not always a black and white thing. It's not always a black and white thing. It's not always a black and white thing. All right, sorry. All right, it's done. Moving on.
When we had shame, right? I'm gonna be honest with you that there was an idea that we had shame. It was, but that idea was, as long as other people, or not a lot of people, know what you're doing, we're good to go. But the fact that people still did it, nothing has changed. People were just as vile back then as they are now. But the only difference is we have social media and
Yeah,
people.
they were more discreet.
Yeah,
Always said that. When
but
women did they dirt, they did it discreetly.
they did it discreet.
Now, because there was shame, they know certain behaviors is not okay.
But
Especially
is
doing it
it?
around your children, but they continue to do it, but they did it in silence. But now we're in a new day.
I definitely agree with that. Media made everything more nuanced, more aware, more of the norm. It made people feel comfortable other things, and we're just not just talking about women, but we're talking about everybody whole. It made everybody feel like the things you might be shamed for, like the just your neighbors would know, your school would know, or something like that. Now it's like, oh, it's on media, so it's like that's the cool thing now. A lot of people just opened the two, so it became less shameful in that regard. So I definitely agree.
Well, here's the thing, right?
They don't care to hide it.
Is it that they didn't care? Is it that they cared to hide it, or is it that there was a cost to not hiding it? Because the way I've seen, and I've researched a few videos around that subject matter before we came on, and it seemed to me that women, and I'm going to keep it on women, women specifically had something tangible to lose. When women couldn't own property, when women couldn't vote.
Miss, she said you should have jumped on like, so what do you mean? What thing can you make a list of things tangible that women couldn't lose? Like, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? Matter of fact, I'm gonna take a note of that. What do women didn't have? What they didn't have to lose? Tangible.
When women only could wash clothes or be seamstress, and if they couldn't get that job, they would literally starve. Like, this is the time when they had something to physically lose. So therefore, they wasn't better people.
What year and decade was it that women only had the job of seamstress, and what was the other one? And washing clothes. What decade was that?
There was no shame in what they were doing or not doing. It's only that if I do this publicly and anybody finds out, I'm going to lose something. But
and what's different now?
What's different now is the women don't have anything to lose, and there's
why not? They can lose their children, they can lose their life, they can lose their freedom, their job by their behavior.
When you say their behavior, what behaviors are we speaking?
Any behavior that someone may find inappropriate to get you in trouble.
Facts.
Right? Because police is killing everybody now. So, just because you're a woman is not going to stop you from getting in trouble or being corrected or being reprimanded for whatever it is. Because, it's just so many things we out here doing that's not okay. It can cost you your life. Just being disrespectful with your mouth. You don't know who you're talking to when you're out in the street. So that can cost you your life or your freedom.
Which in turn becomes shame. Shame. Shame.
Because you might hurt that person. So either way, there's a cost. So to say there's no cost in anything, I agree with that. Because they're losing their children because of their shameful ass behavior. They're going right into the foster care system where we got to pick them up and take care of them. You know what I mean? So there's shame in behavior and there's consequences still. So I don't agree with that.
Go ahead, Robbie.
Yeah. So my thing is this: like, I don't believe shame ever really was the factor, because if it was a factor, then certain behaviors wouldn't be going on right now.
See, people are desensitized.
Right, but
so,
the point,
it doesn't have to necessarily be the direct factor.
But what I'm saying is, if shame was so prevalent and if shame was so important, the behaviors that people have become desensitized to would have never been at the forefront of society. See, the reality.
Okay, so at this point, so now my question is, so when do we feel shamed then? Since she's keeping it on the women, shout out to Marcus. Appreciate Marcus. We here, appreciate you. So it comes on this question. So since Lola's keeping it on women, so when do we feel the shame? Because we can keep it in real life. If, like, for example, if a baby go ahead and if somebody just burn their hand or stub their toe, they know not to walk there no more, right? But then we go ahead, then you have people in real life do the same thing. Like, hey, we got people, again, still keep it on women. Traffic violations, they speed, get a ticket, they go ahead and do it again. So it isn't shame for that, but if they still do it, now what? So it becomes more than just a ticket. Now you're losing your license. Now you can't drive. Now you can't get to work. Now we'll use social media, because since she brought social media up again, people will jump on platforms, see shameful tactics or disrespect toward them. They might feel shameful, but yet they still go back on there. So again, when do those type of women feel shame to the point like it's like the slap on the hand, or you burn the hand on the kiddo to not to touch? When do we learn those lessons? Because I see in real life and virtual world, people still do the certain things. So even if the shame comes and you see it, but then some people kind of interact with you to reinforce the shame, saying, "Hey, this is not a good look. This is not right. This is a no, bad, Lola, bad. Miss Nikki. When are we gonna stop?" Like, but if you keep doing it, what's the repercussion of that? What happens then?
Reality is that the society we live in has gone from one where it was two beds on opposite sides of the room and no skin being shown on
That's what they
television.
showed on TV.
Facts. That's only what they showed on TV. That they could just on point with it. This only what they showed on TV. She's right.
That
I
doesn't
that's
necessarily mean it's true.
But the point that I'm making is the society that we live in. The society.
Yeah, but she named TV. That's part of society. Was it back in the 50s, 60s? Last time we had a group conversation where we was talking about the Kiki Palmer versus Kiki Palmer and her boyfriend Darius, where a lot of people outside social media, the culture today was still shaming them, but only one felt the shame of it, and that was the boyfriend. He jumped off social media, he fell back, he felt very shameful, I guess, from the backlash of what he responded to his girlfriend, aka his baby mama. He felt the quote unquote shame of that retaliation, but Kiki Palmer didn't. Like, look, this is my job. This is what I do. Now what? Now going back to the bed separating in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, yeah, TV people on TV when you had channels, what, two channels or one channel or one radio, that's what they was showing you in front of the media.
Society.
But again, that's not what they was doing in real life. Shout out to the 70s parties and the raves and Woodstock. Shout out to Woodstock.
Frame things that it couldn't be seen a certain way. As time has gone on, society deviated from that plan and from that norm. So it's not that it was necessarily shame, it was the ideology that people wanted to sell as a portion of the American dream. In the 90s, in the 80s and the 90s, when I was growing up, you would hear on the commercials every day, the American dream is husband and wife, 2.5 kids, a house, and a dog. That is not the American dream anymore. So you're not hearing that. So it's never really been about shame. It's just, are you fitting into the prevailing majority as far as standards and aesthetics for what we want our society to be? The society you see today is the society that is desired for whatever reason, win, lose, or draw.
When you say this,
yeah, but wasn't it desired back in the 60s, 70s? Because again, every 10 years stuff changes. Every 10 years.
Okay, is there a question in that? Or
when you say desired, you mean as in, like, for instance, like crime, right? Let's say more women are committing crimes now. Then, well, let me not say that. More women are openly committing crimes now, right? So there's a need in society somewhere for there to be more people in jail. Therefore, there's in a sense, like, low-key incentives to create this problem, because it's also fitting into the aesthetic of what's necessary. Well, not necessary, but what's desired by certain factions of society. So, and I think that goes to the point when I ask, well, what is the incentive? What's the cost, right? If women, because see, that's an extremely when we talk about violence, right? But let's talk about something, let's say, less.
Shout out to Marcus. Marcus says movies, music, TV, radio, social media equal entertainment media, which plays a factor in influencing young and older people's minds of those who choose to follow blindly through hard times, usually yeah, and that could be very shameful. We still see that even more and more, right? More and more. So I agree. And you says incentive with a question mark. They excuse me, said they had an interesting convo. I caught the Raw channel about entertainment and influences. Yeah, I don't think that was connected to this, but I really just want to keep it on the two, because I think Robbie leaves at this point, and it just be Shun and Nikki. So that's pretty much the more bulk of the conversation for me.
That's extreme. Like, okay, nudity, right? At some point back, let's say 150 years ago, you walk out into the street with your nipple showing or somewhat showing, you're gonna go to jail, right? But that's because that went against so many different parts of the culture that it's like it's like women couldn't even wear their skirts above the ground at that point on purpose. Showing skin had a cultural, like, there was a grip on women when it comes to showing certain skin. So you come in there buck naked, they're gonna probably think you're mental. But now,
How we get from I need the years and decades. How we get from fully long dress to the ankles to now like walking up butt naked. All right, all aboard.
you can go anywhere naked and the police are not going to stop you. So it's like, well, women already wanted to be, flaunting their stuff or whatever the case may be. But now there's no cost to going outside, going to your child's school naked. It really isn't.
Naked?
Yeah, I've seen some things.
Booty shorts, not completely naked, because you're gonna get
If you come
you're gonna
into
get stopped by the police. Somebody's
now,
gonna
I'm gonna
find
be
out
honest
if you
with
need
you,
some
I've
help.
seen some stuff. I've seen a woman outside with booty shorts on so tight, I knew she had a yeast infection. And
Jesus. Yo. Yo, she said booty shorts so tight. I knew she had a yeast infection. Shout out to Marcus. I just thought of OnlyFans when Robbie said, man.
all she had was pasties over her nipples. That was it.
I mean, it's still not naked. Naked is naked.
Yeah, and we're picking out this is what I don't like. We're picking out one person as an absolute, like that's supposed to like explain everything. And I'll use Marcus for example. Shout out to Marcus. If I have a bad experience with a shaming bad experience with one Latino male, that doesn't mean I'm just gonna like just blanketly just say every Latino man is this is it. This is the person that did this. This is how they are. That doesn't make any sense. Like we just can't go by one experience of somebody else. But I get she was trying to make a valid point, but yeah, pointing out one person doesn't solve anything. But go ahead.
Okay.
Panties and pasties is not naked.
Here's the thing: if she was turned around and all I could see was her backside, but she had clothes on her front side, she was half clothed. But to me, she's naked because I can.
Let me sip my coffee real quick. No clarifications right now. This is part of the reaction. I will have an open panel once I am done making my assessments, everything. Just enjoy the experience. All aboard.
To you.
Yeah, to me,
she can get a fine for indecent, exposure, but it's not a crime.
Honestly,
or she can, find herself in a position of being raped. So,
Hey, what's going on, Ron Vos? I just checked out Tommy stream, was it earlier today, where he's out and about. He's looking good. He's looking good out there. Pause. He's looking real nice out there. So appreciate you coming on through. Definitely hit the like. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. Wouldn't hurt. It's definitely free. And enjoy the conversation. I know everybody from Tommy's side and the Vicks and definitely Brett's side got some real insights on conversation. So I appreciate you.
Oh, that's on her to deal with. Like she should be smart enough and logical enough and realistic enough to not do that.
Well, I'll say this, right? When it comes to the shaming part of it, right? Part of the reason why women are incentivized not to be shamed about doing these things is because of the position that society has taken to say why they should be shamed. They're saying you should be shamed to dress like that because someone else may commit a crime that we will punish them for. And that doesn't do anything to the psyche of shame. All that does is embolden people to say, hold on, you don't got a right to put your hands on me. I can do what I want as long as I'm not putting my hands on anyone. So where's the shame element? Now we're taking the shame away little by little. And we're saying, well, stay shameful. And that's not how the mind works.
I don't know how everybody else's, minds work with shame. You know what I mean? That's an individual thing. It's something that you have to feel within. You can.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to go back to the definition again. So let me just share this real quick. Because this is when I hear shame again. I was making a joke when I said about I thought about the Game of Thrones when the queen got caught by she gave herself up to the church and it went from there. But then they was shaming her for her misdeeds and how she act as a queen. But I just want to give a full definition so we can be on the same page with shame. All right, so make sure everybody can see this bad boy. All right, cool. All right, the definition of shame again, a painful feeling of humiliation or stress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. She was hot with shame. And then it kind of goes down a little bit. I'm not going to go too far deep, but it goes down like what exactly is shame? Shame is a feeling of embarrassment or humiliation that arises from the perception of having done something dishonorable, immoral, or improper. So we'll leave it at that before we go any further because there's this one's called 4 types of shame, but we're not going to go no further than that. We may later a little bit on the show, but I don't think it needs to right now. All right, back to the video at hand.
Anything to me. I'm not. If you call me all kinds of skinny, you think I'm gonna feel bad? It's not shaming me. That's just how you feel, and I could care less. You understand what I'm saying? But it has been used as a mechanism to shame me. But I never looked at it as shame because I have no shame in my skinny. You understand?
Exactly. It's a level to this. Like big girls, right? People will shame big girls. People will shame guys with bald heads. People will shame women with low cuts. Heck, people will shame women with weaves and stitches in the hair, the bushy eyelashes, the type of clothes you wear, heck, down to your race, the type of car you drive, the place you live in. If you was in a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, if you had a house, no house, condo, what job you're at. And one person making 60K versus the other person making 30K. If one's working at McDonald's, other one working an engineering job. If one is serving our country actively, when the other person is doing a regular 9 to 5. The type of girlfriend you got. There's a lot of people that goes out their way and shaming, which pretty much goes back to the prejudging, which is also a problem too. So it goes hand in hand, but it also comes down to on the set individual. Do I care? Do you sleep good at night? I do. I'm good. So I do. It shouldn't affect me at all if somebody try to use shaming tactics on me. I don't care.
Know what I'm saying?
Well, I understand what you're saying.
Now, I would have shame in being a hoe.
But why?
Because it's not. It's because me personally, what I know about being a hoe and being promiscuous and having all these explicit sexual partners and getting money for sex, it's not something that I personally want to do. Now, if people want to live this life, that's fine. Do you?
Well, let me give you a scenario, right? So a woman feels that.
Hey, appreciate you, Lady Navor. Says has church tomorrow. I might do something in the morning. I think I'm not sure, but I definitely got a topic for the group discussion on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central Time, where I think we're going to be conversating about Colleen. So if anybody doesn't know, definitely look her up because there's a lot of stuff going on with that. So just want to bring some awareness and a conversation with a group for Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Time. So appreciate you.
Being a hoe is nothing to be shameful about.
That's
and
good
we
for
would
her.
say, well, if we ask her, why do you feel that being a hoe is not something to be ashamed about? She would say, well, 1, I'm grown. 2, I can sleep with whoever I want to. It's not against the law.
I don't think the hoe would say that. Shout out to me. Shout out to the Great Pill Podcast. We had a prostitute. If anybody want to check out the channel, interviewed a prostitute. She seemed like she wasn't very shameful. She definitely those wasn't the top 3 of her category. Like, hey, I can sleep with anybody I want to. She was like, yo, I'm about that money. I'm about that bread. I'm on that hustle. I'm on that hustle grind all the time. That's what she about. And we had a special guest co-host. I think the Tuesday before the last, where she considered herself a hoe. Okay. And that wasn't and we don't know what type of hoe she was, but that's what she considers herself. She said the term hoe to her wasn't offensive, and she wasn't ashamed of it. It is what it is. Shout out to Marcus. Marcus says she's talking about Amber Rose, or I don't know if you. Well, I think I'm sorry. I'll make sure I was keeping up with the conversation. Marcus says she's talking about Amber Rose or Instamato. Yeah, that's a good question because it's levels to this. It's levels to this.
If I protect myself, that's a personal choice that I'm doing for me. I'm happy. Now we at number 5. Number 6, this is just her hypothetical. Now, number 6, she would say, it doesn't stop my life. I can still have children when I want to because I'm on birth control. And if I want to get married, whoever I'm dealing with may or may not even know. And let's suppose they do know. She's not interested in anyone that would find that to be wrong. So now we're almost up to 10 reasons why, in her mind, she's saying, I feel like Mrs. She said, I don't feel no shame in what I'm doing. It's like everybody's on the I'm happy kick. So with that being the case, how do we regulate shame if it's individual on that kind of scale?
I have no.
I think I know what Nikki gonna say, but my response to that, I don't care. I don't care if it's like a group full of people, whether it's at work, whether it's in media. I don't know. As far as the regulation goes, if it's with self, I don't care. If you go out your way to expose yourself into certain, since you mentioned cultures, if you go out your way and expose yourself to certain cultures, if you go out your way to expose yourself to certain groups, then you are going to have percentages of people that's going to go out their way and shame you, whether they do it verbally, whether they do it physically, whether they do it with the snickers or the grins. That's what you're going to do. So to regulate it for me, if it was going to have to be a choice, but I still don't care because I tell people, be you. But when you're going to be you, be happy with you. But if you're going to have to regulate it, just make sure you are around family and friends that appreciate you for being you. Clothes, job, place you live, the location you live at. So when you come outside your protected bubble, and you may come across one or two on your daily events, and somebody try to quote unquote shame you, it won't really affect you that much because you got people around your inner circle that protect you, that love you, that care for you, that support you. You just don't care. So to be in a sense, that's how you regulate it. Have your own special circle around you, your own little protective bubble. That's how you regulate it. But at the end of the day, you should also have thick skin. You should know that the world is pretty much what it is. It's tough. It's a lot of times cruel. So when you come across people with the shaming and just the judgmental stares and the comments, you should really just have that I don't care. You should be like, hey, I sleep good at night. That's how I would regulate it. That's how I would do it.
No idea. I only deal with my own kids. That's who I care the most about when it comes to this shame. As long as they know right from wrong, good from bad, foolish behavior, then it's on them. As long as I know that they're smart enough when I send them out as adults.
Shout out to Intelligent Soulbus says, from what I understand, this wasn't a debate. This was Lola conducting an interview. No, sir. No, sir. It wasn't a debate. This was a debate. I spoke to Lola about it, spoke to Nikki about it. It was both. Lola was in my chat the last stream I had, and Lola was in my chat today. It was a debate. It was a debate. So on to the next. All aboard.
Adults, they know what consequences they have to deal with when it comes to their behavior. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know what everybody else's level of shame and how it looks. And, what would her doctor say about all of that? He would probably shame her.
Nowadays, they would
how many women are going into the doctor? Because I'm a married woman, and every time I go, every 6 months, they ask me how many sexual partners, even though my doctor knows me and he knows I have one husband. The question is still asked. It's a piece of paper that asks.
You still got to ask.
How many sexual partners you had in this last year? On top of that, how many sexual partners have you had in a lifetime? So, most people are not honest. And by all means, do you, boo-boo. I have no cares about what women do with their vaginas. And, I'm talking to the young folks. If I can get them to hold out and think a little more clearly, because it is a lot of risk in being bad and foolish when it comes to our bodies. So, they need to know all of that as well, besides the fun and the glamour and glitz of it all. And, probably not even being satisfied sexually. So, they're kind of wasting their time, their youth, and the risk of bringing unwanted children into the world. So, everybody can do what they want. I really don't care.
Where's that? Said no effect. See, that's a shaming tactic. See, you see how we just did that? That could literally be a shaming tactic. But again, it's based on the individual. So if she feel like, hey, she took the L and she feeling some kind of way, she felt shamed. Maybe she felt judged. But that could be also a shaming tactic. But again, it's based on the individual. Do you care? If Lola says no, hey, we're all good. Keep it moving. All aboard.
My missives, my shame platform is for my children and the children that they have, because I'm almost 50 years old and I have an 8-year-old. I have 27, 22, 18, and 8. These lessons from mommy need to be heard from me. Can't nobody tell them who their mama was but me. So hopefully if this exists in 15, 20 years, 30 years, they can always reflect back on who Mrs. Harris was, their mother and grandmother and great-grandmother.
Well, let me ask you this. We have, at least according to men online, in the online space, we have an absorbent amount of Black women that have no shame. Can we, in your estimation, because you said, All
right, we're just going ahead and strike the race from the record. I know we heard it, but we don't do that here. But yes, let us continue.
Oh, this is about me and how I raise my children. Can we say that there has been at least 2 generations that have failed because they raised their children, over 80% of them?
Yeah, sure, Marcus. This is going to be an open panel. This is definitely going to be an open panel. I'm going to give it 20 minutes and go through here. And then I'll drop the link for everybody. Inky, if you're on the clouds, you're more than welcome for the conversation. I was going to email it to you, but you're more than welcome. Muse, you're definitely welcome for the conversation. I hope you be looking nice like you was on LTTV's stream. So I saw you on there. So, but that was a good conversation, and I like how you carried yourself, and I love how you had the conversation. So you did good, girl. You did real good, real good.
Group was infiltrated with whatever was put into them, and now they're adults. And this is what that generation has created. A third generation where there is literally no shame. Can we say that the parenting failed 2 generations before?
I say it every Sunday. 2 generations. Probably more than that.
Okay, so if that's the case, can we honestly say that in the last 150 years, the last 200 years, we've ever had shame, given we have been worse off in terms of our parenting for the last 200 years?
What are we talking about? We had shame. Soon as this, if anybody was a religious person, we had shame then. As soon as this started, we had shame then. That's why I mentioned earlier, when we was born, shame all around. You get some shame. You get some shame. Shame for you. Shame for you. Shame for me. Shame for everybody. Shame, shame, shame. There's always going to be shame. When it comes shame, is going to become prejudgment. Always. Always.
Not raising our children.
I'm so confused by your question. Repeat that for me.
Basically, what she's saying is,
what you're asking.
She's saying that if shame was an effective tool, why has parenting failed over the past 2 centuries?
You think I have the answers to that? Hurt people, right? Because cycles continue to fester and they don't change. People don't see a difference. So if somebody grows up here in this swamp of what you call Baltimore City and they know nothing other outside of that, they don't even go 20 minutes outside of their community to see that there's a farm out there. You understand? All they know is this. They don't aspire to anything else.
I ain't gonna lie. At this point, Nikki is talking about ignorance of the individual. Ignorance of said individual. If that's all you know and that's all you see, that again, that's in your little bubble. That's in your little bubble. That's problematic for you. According to Nikki, it's not a problem for her because she's doing anything the right way. And then now we're bringing in children that she's taking the time out to say, hey, me and mine is going to raise our and our kids, our children, in the way it needs to be moved. We're going to show them the tools. Like we know people are going to judge you accordingly. Race, not race, where you live at, who you are, which if you're a boy or a girl, and we're going to give you the tools to be okay with that. Because again, everybody does it. Everybody shames somebody. Everybody judges somebody. Everybody points the fingers. Like it's just so annoying for me. It's like, yo, really? Are you good? Because I'm good.
I was lucky enough to know that there was something outside of Brooklyn. You know,
Yep.
it was Queens where they had yards and lots of grass. You understand what I'm saying? So your environment dictates a lot. I have no idea about all that, but I'm bringing shame back now. So hopefully someone will reflect on it and, you know, possibly change their behavior, have a look at themselves,
When you say you bring
and possibly change.
Do you feel that when you say I'm bringing shame back, that you can only bring shame not so much back, but to your direct children, not to
I can bring it to who?
Yeah. Hold on, Nikki, I got you. I think she's talking about everybody. Everybody can get it. Everybody can get it. I can be shamed. I'll use, you know what I'm saying? Sorry, Marcus. I normally use Corey Hager. That's my go-to for the examples. But I can use Marcus for example, right? Marcus can shame me, but the way how Marcus shame me, right? So now again, it's levels to this. If I do something wrong or Marcus sees me like we see each other as friends, right? Marcus might give me a call and say, hey man, I didn't like what you did, whatever. Or he might do it in a Marcus way and shame me in a way that I like, dang, I got to think about it, right? That's pretty much how he does it. Or if I come to him as a friend, he I don't know, he know, and he'll come like, hey man, I know something, let me talk to you. And he'll talk to me in a way that's maybe shameful for me to get me to look at another side of a picture. Facts, Marcus. Yeah, nobody remember that. Only Marcus. Me and Marcus know. When I hit 2K twice, nobody does that. Only Grey Pill Podcast can hit 2K twice. You know. Shout out to Fresh and Fit. They hit what 1 million twice. But it's all good. Shout out to the intellectual soapbox said, nah, Marcus, you're wrong as well, my brother. All right, we'll have that conversation in a few minutes. We will have that conversation in a few minutes.
Whoever watches it, if anybody watches my platform and see the reflections that I show of the shameful, bad, stupid ass, foolish behavior that they're exhibiting, and it's my opinion, they might reflect on it. And they might want.
Exactly. Perfect example I just gave about the whole Marcus thing, but just only different. Perfect example. It starts with a conversation. It starts with an example. It starts with an example or how you act, how you carry yourself. If nobody else can't see that, how you are or who you are, they're not it. They're not for you. Will not gravitate to your bubble. And it's fine. It's cool. But that's pretty much how it goes. You can't save everybody. You can't change everybody. And I think that's a problem too. But again, understand everybody in this world, virtual or live, unplugged or not. Shout out to the Matrix. Shout out to Top G, Andrew Tate. Everybody shames somebody. Everybody judging somebody. It's how the individual carry it. From what I'm saying, from what Nikki is saying, hey, I'm leading by a positive example that I deem, me and my family deem as a positive example, and whoever on my channel, on my social media, or in my presence, if they can't see that, or it's going to give a reflection for you to say, hey, maybe let me see a different perspective of things. So maybe I might get shamed without even somebody saying anything to me, without the snickers and the eye glares, then I might want to change. Most people like to be a better person because somebody else is a better person. Somebody like to be better people just because other people are better people. Lead by example. Isn't that what they say?
Want to change. If not, continue your foolish behavior and continue to get the results that you are getting. Like, I can't control what people do in their life. Some people are going to take what I say and agree and make adjustments or changes, or they might not like it at all and may not come back, click like, dislike. Who cares? I'm not one of them up here looking for any type of a trophy. That's not why I'm here. I don't care about subscribers or
right,
any of that. But it's some truth that needs to be shined. You live in Baltimore, don't you? You live in Maryland. It's a shithole, is it not? Or am I wrong?
it is.
Okay, so
Well, see,
it ain't like I'm lying.
No, you're
about,
not. You're not lying
right?
about
That's what I'm saying.
the reality of what we're looking at as far as people. However, what I've noticed is, let's say, older generation, and some people in our generation that have platforms and voices. They're saying, okay, to the younger people, you should have shame, right?
No, I'm hearing a lot of people say people need to bring back shame.
Right. You need to.
Not you should have shame.
Right.
Hey, appreciate you, Miss Ty. Thank you. I wouldn't ask you to hit the like button while you're driving, so be safe while you're on the roads and everything else. Shout out to you traveling. No, this is just pretty much me doing a reaction that permission from Lola and Nikki was aware of it between their debates and them two. In the beginning of it, Robbie just happened to come in. It was kind of open panel, but the conversation was mostly between Lola and Robbie. So Lola and Nikki. Robbie had to come on and give her insight and her great perspective on it. And then I think she was kind of MIA just to let them two have their conversation, their debate. And then she later on, I think she leaves out. So that's pretty much what it was. I think like a month ago, I was going to react to this, but I just never had time. So both the ladies is aware. I appreciate you, Big D.
Brought back shame, they would see shame in their behavior. That's the thing, giving them a vision of what is some shameful types of behavior. Some people may not find it shameful. Some people may not think it's shameful. So it's all my perspective on what I see a good mother should be or a good woman should be. It's my perspective.
Based on what you said about what you care about, what you don't care about, and you're correct, right? If every single person shares your sentiments, right? That listen, if it feels good to me and it makes sense to me, and this is my
but see, that's what extreme. Everybody, again, these absolute. I think that's the only thing that triggers me. Everybody isn't gonna feel shame like the way that I guess you're perceiving it. Everybody's not gonna feel that way. But I think you're trying to get to a point, so I'm gonna let you finish out your point. But again, it's not everybody.
Life and my children, I don't care what anybody else thinks, right?
That's what they're doing.
If every single person feels that way, technically,
that's what they're doing.
There's no reason, there's no space. Literally, there's no physical place for us to quote be shamed, let alone bring back shame, because our own children will grow up and say and be influenced by all these other things, and then say, "Well, I don't agree with how you raised me. I'm gonna do what I want to do because
it's always going to be like that." Absolutely. Our children are absolutely going to have their children and say, you know what, some of the things mom and dad did I didn't like, and I'm going to change that. I'm not going to do that. It's just what's going to happen.
So can we really bring back shame if that's...
You can do whatever you want. I know what I'm doing. I'm bringing back shame.
When you say you're bringing back shame, what do you mean by that?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What I mean by that? It's just a show and a play. Did you watch my show? Have you seen any of my shows? And you would see that I absolutely bring up videos and I give definitions of certain behaviors and I give you a view of the type of behaviors that I consider to be foolish and shameful. And it's just giving a view.
Oh, welcome. Well, Nikki, okay. Welcome to the Great Pill Podcast. We do solution based over here too. Shout out to Nikki. We do solutions over here all day, every day. All right, I'm gonna drop the link, but I'm gonna let the regular conversation go ahead until people start coming up. So it's gonna be one at a time. We ain't gonna do all this jumping on the panel, and definitely gonna do the sausage fashions. All right. So if you're doing some swearing and some cursing on here, that's the only rule. No disrespecting, no cursing, because usually I don't do randoms. Anybody that know me, I do I do invites. So you come up here and curse, again, kicked. Just take it how it is. But I'll go ahead and drop the link for anybody want to give their perspective on the conversation hand thus far. Yeah, Mrs. Miss Muse, I do that thing.
Wait, hold on. Church finger. Okay, this is a really intense conversation, and I can understand both sides of the situation. But I'm gonna let y'all have this conversation because I just came up here to, hold my girl down while she was waiting for
Mm.
you.
Oh, okay.
I get
I
what
didn't even know
you.
you was gonna be here.
Yeah, no, I wasn't gonna be here. She was just like, "Oh, you was running late," so I just popped up to, help her round out the time until you came. Uh, you can keep doing what you're doing. I mean, you find you see a path. You don't really for them joy and happiness.
Thanks, Robbie, and shout out to everyone in the chat. Y'all know I don't hardly read the chat. I glance at it. But I'll say this, Ms. She said, I'm with you in at heart in terms of people being better people. And I always say that we can't start with rules. We have to start with inside. Like we have an internal issue, right? We got people that at heart, they're dark. So we can't sit and expect them to do things correct.
I don't.
What's going on, Marcus?
Hey, what's up, man? How you been?
No, it's been going good, man. I had a bad Monday, man. I had a bad Monday. I had a damaged wisdom tooth, and I feel like I wanted to rip my skull off. And I called the dentist to get the walk-in. A lot of dentists that do the walk-in, some did a schedule. I actually walked to one dentist. It was bad, man. Then the dentist actually ripped. He didn't even get the whole tooth out. And when I saw him use it was like some Dr. Jekyll, Dr. Hyde type tool. When I saw him pull the tool out, I'm like, this is not gonna work. I got real strong roots. And I'm like, this is not gonna work. And then he took
Couldn't get the anesthesia?
No, he numbed it with the needle, right? And then he grabbed it because it was like part of it chip. So I guess
but was that lidocaine? Did he inject you lidocaine?
I think so. I mean, my whole
because lidocaine is the weaker thing. That you need anesthesia. That's the stronger stuff.
I ain't gonna lie, I ain't trying to go under. I don't know what these people trying to do.
Well, you're not gonna find your pants unzipped. I think. And I know we're moving the goalposts, but
yeah, but we're catching up because we're playing catch up, so it's all good.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. But
you're a survivor.
Yeah, I definitely am.
You're a survivor.
So, it was bad, man. So we'll play a part 2 and catch up on that one. But that's pretty much what happened. He took like the top part of the tooth and he tried like some kind of tweezer and grab most of it out, and he couldn't. And then he jabbed actually my tonsil, and my tonsils swelled up. And I didn't know because my whole mouth was just swollen. So I didn't know my right tonsil was swollen too. And it was like, he said, "Yeah,
you were like Joe Pesci in Lethal Weapon."
Pretty much. I'm telling you, it was bad. I had to call my cousin like, "Hey, cuz, I need you to come take me," because he referred me to when that dentist couldn't do it, so he referred me to an oral surgeon to get the rest of it out because the root is still there. So it was a long, painful day, man. Long, painful. I was heated. Anywho, that was my.
Glad you're okay though.
I'm glad. It just sucked because I had the whole you know how you. This is why I tell people, or I don't know if anybody heard that old saying when you make a plan and God laugh at it. Trust me, God was giggling his butt off. Like, yo, I'm like, yeah, I got the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off. I'm gonna drop content. I'm gonna chill all week. I'm gonna have the house just glistening, just cleaned, everything else. And God's like, you know what? That's not gonna happen today. It ain't gonna happen the day after.
Just focus on your purpose, rest in your masculinity, and let the cash apps come.
There you go.
By my grace.
By grace. Yeah, man. So far the conversation thus far, what you thought about the whole shaming topic? Like, what you think about shaming? Salute to you, Wally.
I think it's balance. I think everything in balance and moderation. Certain things are to be shamed. I think some things aren't, but that depends on the eye of the beholder, in my opinion. I mean, what I believe is wrong, how we're raised wrong, what we are raised to believe is wrong and usually is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Were you raised to be right? What's good is good, so shame in a way to hopefully, I guess, build somebody to be better. I guess it also comes down to how the person takes it, what they do with it after.
Pretty much. So based on what I I ain't gonna lie. I don't know if she's still in the clouds. Lola, if you there, because she's like she wants some clarity. I'm like,
the absolute experience.
yeah, that's pretty much my whole thing with the whole shaming thing. Because for me, I think it's like a no brainer with the whole conversation. Personally, I didn't think like what was even a debate. Soapbox. I don't know if you have a disagreement, but the link is there. I'll drop the link again. But to me, I just maybe it's my thing. I just thought it was common sense when people talk about shaming. So, and speak of the the person in hand. What's going on, Lola?
Hey, Lola.
What's going on?
Hey y'all. Hey, is Marcus supposed to be up here while I'm up here?
I said it's an open panel. I don't know if you heard me. It's open panel.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what your format was going to be.
Yeah, I said it's an open panel. It's going to react to it, and people want to come up. They can give their perspective in the conversation. I didn't feel it was right for me just to be give like a whole thing like this is what my thought and input on it. So, but yeah, people more than welcome to come up. It's a conversation.
All right. Well, I'll say this right. You were incorrect in terms of the purpose of that video. It was not a debate. I had seen a post that she made, and I had a question for her. Okay. And a lot of the things that you heard me saying was a question, and she was answering. You notice she didn't ask me a question back. I was asking all the questions because that was the interview. It was not a matter of trying to go against her thoughts, but rather give her some pushback, because as a content creator, if you don't give nobody any pushback, technically you're not a content creator. So that's what that is. Okay. I just got off a string with are talking about not giving pushback to certain people.
That's what they say?
Okay. Yeah, that's what they say.
Okay, so, I know, but go ahead.
You got to engage your guests. You can't just have them up there doing monologues and there's nothing else to it. You have to actually engage them. So that's what that is, because at the end of the day, everybody has the right to their opinion, right? But if somebody wants you to explain further, what do you mean, and talk about the concept that you're relaying on your platform, that's a long drawn out conversation. And as you can see, that video was like 2 hours long at least. So that right there is that's what that is. I don't want nobody to mistake my intentions to say, oh, I have a feeling that I want to get out there and I'm debating Mrs. She Said. It's like, I'm not debating Mrs. She Said. I'm trying to have a conversation with her. So let's not too far into that.
That's fair.
But also, I think inside your assessment, right, you're forgetting the whole reason why the video actually was made. The question is, when did we have shame? As a collective, not individually. I could give two fucks I could care less, just like her, about when I had shame, when you had shame, when my cousin had shame. Everybody is on the same wavelength when it comes to individual shame. Nobody cares. So for everybody in the chat that think they being funny, listen, you're not on my level, and I mean that to everybody.
Well, we gotta stay out that chat. That's number one. So I don't care what the chat says.
You see your great bill, but
you talking about the chat on your end?
No. I'm just talking about people that talk in chats. Okay, so and you know who they are. There's just no reason to focus on it, but they know who they are. My thing is, when we're talking about shame, right? Mm-hmm. It's just a conversation. It's just to say, well, when did we have shame? Did we have shame back in the day? And what day was that? And that's when we started talking about the differences between shame from, let's say, the 90s, the 50s, the 1857s. Like what was shame looking like and why as a collective? So again, I'm not talking about individual shaming tactics here or any of that. But ultimately, if you if you saw the video, you would hear me express to her that it literally, as a collective, right? If we're going to try to change anybody else through shaming, right, we have to understand how shame works on an individual level.
Do you want, or you just asking in general, or do you want to change?
No, it wasn't. No, listen, and that's what I'm saying. You didn't understand the context of the video. I don't go around telling anybody anything. The word shame, you've seen my content. I don't have that word on my platform, but that is her entire platform. So this is why the interview is happening, because she has a platform speaking to grown adults, not her children. And so the question is, if you are using this tactic to help people, explain how this tactic has worked in the past that you feel is going to work now or in the future. That's all that conversation was. How has it worked in the past? How is it working now? Because I keep going back to what we see is not people having shame. We see people are embarrassed to lose out on a lot of things, but true, genuine shame, that's not what we see in mass right now. So the question is, well, when did we have it? When did we lose it? And how do we get it back if that's what we really want? So again, we're talking about solutions, but first we have to define and understand what we are actually talking about. So when I asked her the question of, well, when did we have shame? My contention is, as I said in my video, we never had shame. We just had sociological constructs. There was never no genuine shame. People were what they were, and they are the same.
So what's your definition of genuine shame? So
the definition that you put up earlier, that is the definition of shame. And what I'm saying is, when you read that definition and ask yourself, was people actually shamed, like for certain behaviors, let's just name whatever, back in the day, whatever day you want to pick, was people shamed, or was it a sociological construct to which people had to do something? It wasn't about you genuinely choosing to do what's right. You had to, or
okay, I get you. So if we're going by that logic, then no, generally nobody was in shame, unless we're talking about like self. And for me, this one thing is self-inflicting acts, right? Like if we'll go back to the caveman time, just for example, right? If you're pushing up some rocks and like something might happen where you hurt yourself, not to do that again. So that might be self-shame on yourself. That's not society or somebody else telling you. Or if but isn't that okay?
No, so, that's not shame. Based on the definition you pulled up, self-preservation, and that is not the same thing or the same definition.
Okay. So you feel like just society as a whole, it does the whole shaming on each other, so there's no pure shame. That's what you're saying?
No, I'm not judging how society shames or whatever, because shame comes in different forms, right? However that is, wherever that is. The fact that I'm trying to speak to is, if we're going to say people should have shame, the reason we want people to have shame is so they will act right. Now, when you say act right is based on what? How I personally feel everybody else should act? No. How Mrs. She feels everybody else should act? No. How you feel no. So the answer is going to keep going like that 8 trillion times, and the answer is going to still be no. So what are we doing here? Now I'm literally confused. Like when we say we're trying to shame people, and let's just say, for instance, right? Like and you say you was confused as to how we got from the 1990s to the 1800s. The point was, in the 1800s, right, it was a cultural norm where all of the clothes were made a certain length. You didn't have a choice but to wear what was made in wherever you were buying clothes. All of the skirts were knee length or floor length, all of them, period.
You
didn't have a choice.
So it was set for men, it was set for women.
Right. So there's no, it would be a very stupid question to say, well, were the women choosing to wear short skirts or long skirts? There was no choice. So you can't say they had shame. No, they had a cultural norm. That has nothing to do with how shameful they are to do acts or how they dress. They had no choice but to wear that. Now, in 1990, you have a choice to wear a short skirt or a long skirt. Now you have a choice, and let's see what that shame looks like. We already know what that shame looked like. Now, in 1995, the sociological norm is not all of the skirts and clothing are made to the floor. That's not the sociological norm. So my question is, why should someone feel shame to wear a skirt knee length when that's the sociological norm? Where's the shame in that, right? But let's juxtaposition it to 1805. Lots of shame. You see what I'm saying? But what are we really talking about? We're talking about sociological norms, not shame. So when we say being promiscuous is shameful, well, that's coming out of the dark ages when promiscuousness is something that ensured that paternity would never be known. Now that we have paternity tests, we don't really care so much about who you have sex with, rather maybe other things. So that's a sociological construct, and it's a different norm that now has shifted people from saying, well, I no longer feel shame for not getting married by 18 or or not having one partner in my lifetime. You know why? Because we have technology, because we have so many other things that are normal in society, that why should I feel shame because I didn't get married by 19 in America in 2023? For what reason would you feel shame? But however, we know in America, people were getting married by the age of 14, and 15 seemed a little late at some point. People felt shame. But that was a sociological norm. So my thing is, and I don't want to berate the point, let's not confuse that and say, well, your behavior is shameful because I don't like it. No, that's a false accusation. Just because you don't like something and you think that it has negative effects doesn't necessarily mean you're right, one. And two, your opinion of it literally means nothing to nobody, and which is the reason why things are getting worse, not better. Because no matter what you say, if you don't have the power to enforce something on someone, I mean, in a sense, you're kind of talking to the wind. And you know me, I can talk, but one thing I'm not going to do is waste my breath. Like, I got other things to do. And I'm not saying Mrs. She Said wastes her breath, because I know probably what she's saying, she actually believes in. However, the point that we were, let's say, trying to iron out is, well, you're telling women, grown women, not children, they need to be shamed for their behaviors. But are we really looking at why grown women don't feel shame for what they're doing? Like, why don't they feel shame? Are we really asking that question? Or are we just saying we just want something to change and we're just going to yell, you should be shamed, and not really look at whether or not that's impactful enough on the situation? Because I know for me, I'm not wasting my time. I know I keep going back to that, but I'm not wasting my time talking. Okay. Other people might, but I don't feel the need to.
Okay. Yeah, we hear you, Marcus. Do you have anything to add? I was going to chime in, but go ahead. You said you had the mic going.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I said something, but I did have something to say to Lola respectfully. Mrs. She Said, if I'm not mistaken, I think she only does it maybe once or twice a week, and it's Shame Sundays, but I believe that's when she does it. Once a week, and not Shame Saturdays. But either way, she just picks one day usually to talk about it like that. On other panels, she may sometimes correlate or make a pattern of saying similar things, but depending on the topic, she tends to stick on the topic. From what I know about the Harris tribe family and them, and I was going to do a panel earlier, first time on the panel. But also the second thing.
She does. I'm fully aware that she does what I consider to be like case studies to say this person did this and this is shameful. I'm fully aware of what goes on the channel. However, for every case study she has done in the past, I've seen another content creator argue why that is to not be judged or that's correct.
Didn't you say though earlier that?
So
my point. Say earlier the video that Grey Pill was reacting to when she. My point when she asked you.
Wrong. My point is.
Hold on, Marcus was saying so. Go because he sounded low. Let me see if I can turn him up. Go ahead, Marcus.
Go ahead.
No, I thought Mrs. She Said asked you earlier if you watched the content and you said no. So that's what kind of confused me.
I don't know why you wasn't watching the video that Grey Pill said. I literally said, yes, I've seen your video. Because I did. I've seen a lot of her videos before that interview. Now that I'm telling you and everyone else listening, yes, I've seen her videos. How does that change her position, my position, or the actual issue at hand?
It don't change anything. I'm pretty much like confused because I'm not trying to make it on you. I'm not trying to make it on Nikki. It's pretty much reacting and giving everybody their chance to perspective on the show.
I also wanted to get to the point of why I wanted to say something. You said something about how shame, right? It depends on the person and the individual, how they're raised, right? But there's something that's universal, which is modesty.
I didn't say that.
No, but you agree, right, that modesty is something that universally is known globally
No, I don't hold that opinion. No, I don't hold that opinion that modesty is something known universally. Culture to culture, you're going to find modesty is going to shift based on a lot of different factors. And honestly, all of those factors are valid. So no, I don't hold that view, which is why I didn't say that.
No, but what I mean is, in every country, there's going to be certain layers or levels of modesty within the set of group, no matter the country you're in. There are some places where you may not have as much modest people, but you'll have a certain set of modest individuals or groups in each country.
If you were paying attention to the video and what I said tonight, what I already said, from culture to culture, from time period to time period, the norms in terms of what's normal, which is what's modest. The word modest means normal, meaning not in the extreme, changes. And therefore, that change regulates essentially what is considered to be acceptable or what is supposed to be not shameful. It's changing from decade to decade, region to region, all the time. So the fact that we say, well,
yeah, but you also agree, right, that people back in the day used to wear modest.
I'm already agreeing that there's a difference in what is expected of people from region to region, place to place, time to time. Like, that's already embedded in the conversation.
Okay, so do you believe in shame?
Do I believe that shame exists, or do I believe someone else can shame another person? Which one?
Both.
I don't believe that anyone else can shame another person. No, I don't believe that, because I've studied certain things and I understand how shame works in the human psyche. So another person can't bring you shame. I just haven't experienced that. Maybe it might be different, but I haven't seen that. As far as does shame exist? Yeah, shame exists. I mean, of course it exists for what you defined it as, that you brought up on the screen earlier. Yeah, that's a normal human experience.
You said you believe it exists, but you don't believe that a person could put shame on somebody else?
Yeah, you can't force someone else to feel shame. Just like right now, I can't just feel angry because you said, Lola, I need you to feel angry right now. And that's like, if you just told me, get angry right now, I can't just get angry. Like,
that's not how shaming tactics work, though.
Listen to what I'm saying. That's not how my brain works, right? So what I'm saying is the human brain works a certain way when it comes to what goes into shame. That's something that another person cannot force in your brain on a cellular level, on a biological level, on an emotional level. That is something that's internally generated. Now, all of the workings for that, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not the know-it-all of that. However, I do know that, like Mrs. She said, she doesn't feel shame for anything that she does. No one's going to shame her. Now, that's because
she can jump in. She can jump into that, but I think this is marketing.
Right? It's not because she's insecure, it's because she's secure. So there's a lot that goes into that. And just like my point to her was, if you feel like that and nobody can shame you, why don't you think that that's the exact way everybody else feels? And that's something that might need to be addressed, because why speak if nobody cares about what you're speaking to? But I get what she said. Somebody might care. That's a long shot in my estimation. But I'm gonna be honest with you. If you argue that this is how human beings think, they don't care. My next question is, why are we having this conversation if nobody cares about it?
No, I don't think nobody cares. I think it's the point of me personally, I think it goes back to the point of the individual. Like, now going back to what you said earlier, you said if I say Lola do this, that's a different type of shaming. So I feel like for the individual, there's different types of shaming tactics for other people. Me personally, I do believe that a person can shame another person. I also believe that society can shame a person also. You can just shame yourself with just how you feel within self because of how everything's around you is. There's like more than like the four main types of shaming the person can do to somebody else. One, we've seen it just in real life where people just make comments about how you look, how you dress, certain types of food you eat. I mean, I know, for example, I make a joke about this, but it's pretty, for me, it's pretty sad when a person that say they're on a diet, but they drinking a diet cherry Coke. And I'm like, that's not cool. You know, it may be, they may feel some kind of shame of it per the definition, but there's other ways a person to person can shame somebody. So I'm kind of lost. Like, how do you feel like you don't believe that another person can shame another person?
And I'm gonna say this, and this may go over some of y'all heads, but before someone tells you something you did was wrong, you already knew it was wrong. So therefore, that other person isn't shaming you. They're not. You already felt the shame. That's why you have something in your mind when they said something. You already knew it was wrong, i.e. the shame was already internally.
Internally, they had an issue with it.
Nobody took that and put it into you and convinced you that something was wrong with you. That's not how that goes. Now, mind you, you can come to me and, let's say, infiltrate me and make me feel something that I wouldn't have otherwise felt. That's why we got colorism right now. That's why we have a whole lot of crazy stuff based on people shaming people for something that honestly,
that's a person shaming another person.
Shouldn't feel shame. However, it doesn't matter if the shame is correct. What matters is it can be infiltrated inside of your mind. So my thing is, I'm not concerned with what the shaming tactic. The issue is, can you actually genuinely generate shame in a person's heart from an outside space, from meaning your opinion of something? No, you cannot. And to your point earlier, when you said, as long as people love you, you shouldn't feel shame. That's everybody. Like, so for instance, with the Coke can you just said, if somebody is telling that person, don't feel no kind of way, do what you need to do, enjoy your life, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing, I love you still. Now there's that conundrum there. It's like, should they feel shame? Somebody loves them. This is the problem with some of these people doing the craziness right now. Somebody thinks it's okay and loves them regardless of what they're doing. And this is in part why they're like, I don't have to stop doing anything because somebody is agreeing with me. My thing is this, it's all hogwash, but this is what keeps the cycle going, because people really think that they are out here creating magic in people's minds and making them feel something that they otherwise wouldn't have felt. No, everybody knows from a baby, like you said, what they're doing is either right or wrong in their own estimation. That's not an outside.
No, I didn't say that. I said from a baby. Yeah, I said from a baby. Marcus, you got to take off that Bluetooth because it sounds muffled. I hear you because I'm focusing on what you're saying, but I want to make sure everybody hear you clearly. So the Bluetooth is not working on that clearly. Yeah, I hear you, but it's like muffled, like somebody's about to attack you with a pillow.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I was gonna say Amber too when they started saying that name, but like Lola said, it's because she knew she was doing wrong, so everybody started coining the name Amber Turd, which I jumped in and said the same thing about her when she did the whole thing about Johnny Depp. So that could be a quote unquote.
Yeah, your mic, bro.
You're saying, but if what you're saying is the idea of someone feeling shame within themselves, period, that's my point. Which is, and I said that in the video with Mrs. She Said. I don't know if you guys reviewed that part, but I said that.
I saw it twice. I just wanted to review it publicly. And
I said to her that this is an internal process that comes from within the person. And she agreed that it does have to come from within if it's genuine. And honestly, if it's not genuine, it's not shame. So it's like, what are we really talking about?
Fair enough.
I'm here. Now you can hear me.
Yeah, you sound chromed out now. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like the Amber Turd thing. Remember how like she did wrong, so everybody started calling her Amber Turd. So I jumped in on that too. So
who are you talking?
He's giving an example of Amber Heard.
Yeah, because when she was trying to make accusations towards Johnny Depp, which was covered on the Great Pill podcast, check that out. But
what is the
yeah, but then because of her accusations, which were false and were lying, and she was the abusive one, people started calling her Amber Turd because she defecated on the man's bed that we were both sleeping in. So in return to basically say expose her and call her out, they coined her Amber Turd. But that could be used, as you said, a quote unquote shaming tactic.
Let me ask you something, right? What if him and her had a kink life where that's something that they did occasionally? Okay. Or should we?
A turd is still a turd.
No. Some people do stuff like that. Should she feel
Lola. I'm sorry, bro. I was trying to give Lola a chance to speak and Marcus a chance to speak. He just fixed his mic. So you're more than welcome up. I see everybody in the chat. We don't need to hit the chat like, hey, Grey Pill, I saw you in the back. You're good. I was giving Lola a chance to give her clarity on the conversation at hand, and Marcus just fixed his mic. So you're more than welcome to come back up, sir.
What I was saying was that if we kept the scenario the same, but we only changed 2 elements, which is the guy she's with, Johnny Depp or whatever his name is, they have a sexual kink to which they do stuff like that, right? Everything's the same, but it's their sexual kink. It's something they do all the time. Why should she feel shame about what she did if this is something that's normal in the culture of her relationship? Why should she feel shame under that scenario?
Marcus?
Because it's unsanitary and it's not modest.
So basically, you're going to police another man's penis and what he should do with his woman?
No, but the world is still going to judge, and they're still going to mock. The world is still going to judge and mock, though. That's the whole point. Shame is still going to exist regardless.
Listen to me, Marcus. If it's not for you to police another man's penis, it's not for you to tell him.
But nobody said anything about policing. We're talking about shame and either a joke or whatever. Shame. It's just shame is shame. A turd is a turd.
I just told you that you can't shame someone for something that is their norm because there's no physical way for them to feel shame. It's a norm to them. I can't shame you for wearing a baseball cap. It's a cultural norm. It's a hat. It has a use. It has a purpose. I can't just walk up to you.
You can call me hat hair. I won't get mad.
At the end of the day, it'll just be me expressing my emotions, which is nothing when we're talking about shame. I just said to you that if we kept the result? I just said to you, Marcus, that if we kept the circumstances the same, but this is a sexual kink that these two have, how can you sit here and tell them what they're supposed to be doing sexually? How? You have no right to shame anybody for what they do sexually. Meanwhile, we don't see what you're doing sexually. And here's the thing. Who is on a level to judge what somebody else does sexually? Why is your sexuality better than anybody else's sexuality if we're really talking about the jurisdiction of what you can shame and what you can't? Really, like, what is this?
So to be fair, hold on. My bad. 84. I appreciate you coming up. So you're saying that nobody should judge and nobody should shame?
What I'm saying is shame is something that's already embedded in human beings. You don't have to create that. It's already there. Okay. It's already there. But when you have a cultural norm and a sociological construct that makes whatever they're doing that you perceive to be a bad behavior, when you have a cultural norm that creates that ability for them to feel okay with what they're doing, the issue is not shame. It's the cultural norm. Change the cultural norm, and then literally things will physically change, as you will see with your own 2 eyes.
So
but if you want,
how do you suggest that we?
But hold on. If you're okay with the freedoms you have because of said cultural norm, stop complaining that people are taking advantage of the perks of it, because there's a cost for everything. The cost for you to get on here and say your opinion is that somebody else is going to say their opinion, and it's going to be very ugly, right? That's the cost of freedom to speak. So it's like, no, you can't sit here and shame people for what is a cultural norm, what is legal, what they have a quote unquote jurisdictional right to do in their state. Like, you, to a degree, you can't do that. Now, to another degree, you can, because you got a mouth and you can open it. But now the question is, why do you give up? Like, for real, it's not your children. Why do you care? Like, I'm just asking that question. But again, I'm trying to keep it fair, which is,
well, I'm just trying to say real quick.
I'm not here to judge people to any degree beyond what is natural for me within myself. When I come outside of myself to judge someone and say, well, I think what you're doing is bad, obviously I have a reason for doing that. And my reason is I want you to stop it, right? Because it helps me out for you to stop, right? It helps my community out for you to stop.
So with that
now we're talking about construct.
Lola, I don't know if you got the Bluetooth on something like everybody got to get some time in for a word. Like, I understand everybody trying to make a point, It can't be longer than 60 seconds.
You know, you on my video. What you mean everybody trying to get
84 is here. I want to make sure 84 get a chance to chime in. Shout out to Muse. She asked a question, I guess, based on what you said earlier. She said, Grey Pill, can you ask her if Shane video the other lady does, is that what prompt the interview? Did Lola want to know what the point is of the shame segment? So I guess the first question is, I guess, what was the point of the video? I mean, for the interview. Because I apologize. I thought it was a debate, but you said it's an interview.
The point of the video was to ask the question, when, as in time, did we as a collective have shame? That was the question that was posed at the beginning of the video and in the middle and at the end. I stated, if you guys were paying attention, that I seen a post of hers that prompted that question, because she said we're bringing shame back, as in the past we had shame. And in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, we did not have shame. We had sociological constructs, and that's not the same as shame. So that's why I said, let me have an interview with her to get her thoughts on when she says bringing back shame. The question is, from what time or when are we talking about? And what are we really getting at when we say, like we, like the collective, like individuals, like what are we talking about? That's all that was in terms of what prompted that. It had nothing to do really with any video she's ever done, because generally speaking, the question is still the same. If we're bringing shame back, the question is from when and why, and how is that fitting in 2023 right now? And there's some places where it might be legitimate. It is, and it might be, and it might not be. But that was what prompted that question.
Okay, appreciate that. But just to be clear before we go to A4, you don't believe that a person can shame another person?
I believe that you can try to infiltrate another person to see things your way, but shame is not something that you give someone else. It's something that is within the individual. Like, it's not something that is given. It's not something that's taken either, in a sense. It's not a thing like that. It's like, it's not a thing. I don't know how to put that in words, but it's like, you can talk to me and try to convince me of something, but that talking to me about your opinion isn't giving me shame. Shame is something I either have or I don't. It's yeah.
All right, I appreciate that. 84. Your thoughts? There's a lot of
What up, Mr. Best?
There's a lot to take it, sir. So, hey, appreciate you, man. What's your thoughts on shame? Do you believe in shame? Do you believe that a person can give an individual shame, or you pretty much lean a little bit with? Because I think Lola has some good points. Do you believe that it's and correct me if I'm wrong, Lola, because I'm trying to quote you this one. It's a social construct with shame.
Yes, for all intents and purposes, yes, it is largely a social construct.
Okay, cool. 84, are you, sir?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, family? Salute to Grey Pill. Salute to Lola.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And my thing is this, definitely salute to Marcus. You know what I'm saying? And Marcus, we're gonna be talking real soon. You know how we do. But say this. I think that in my estimation, instead of us trying to shame people, we should try to come up with solutions in order to help people.
Correct.
And that's just my thoughts on it. And maybe in the process of people creating content, they create the content that they want to, and they're trying to create content that I think actually.
Yeah, but we keep it on we pretty much pass. I apologize. I'm not trying to derail you getting at the point. We're keeping on just the conversation base of shame per the conversation of two individuals. This is not and it's crazy for me even to say this, because I don't even do that. Anybody that even met me on the panel, no, I don't do. There's not a poker bear at Lola. There's not a poker bear at Nikki.
I'm not.
Lola, I know. I just have to say this just because it's crazy. I have to say it, but you're good. Lola knows that I'm doing this. Nikki's aware of it. The end. Go ahead.
What I'm essentially saying is that everybody has a reason of why they create the content they want to create. So the reasoning behind the content of said creators are based on an objective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interviewing her guest wanted to state the fact that she's doing this in order to bring awareness, and she, for her kids and the people that she cares about. Cool. I mean, that's I think in that retrospect, I definitely respect that. You want to leave something for your kids. That's respectable.
What's going on, Rob?
But I think that overall, I think that we just as a community need to see how each other have different perspectives. You know what I mean? Hear from them perspectives, hear from each other's point of views. And then from there, we can understand each other better and we can help to come with solutions. And that's what I believe. But I digress.
Okay, that's what you believe that Nikki was doing? Because I think he was talking about her channel.
Well, no, I think essentially, if you have content and you're saying that you're shaming people, right? Essentially, my whole thing is that why even have content that's even built on that? Why not have content that's just based on being solution oriented? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But if she feels like this is a way for her to basically, I guess, help those around her that she cares about, then I can't police that. No one can. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we can't police each other content. Like GP, you got your way of doing content. I got my way of doing content. Sometimes we agree. Sometimes we don't. Right?
All right.
But it
Now
is.
this is me because I personally don't care what anybody do on their channel. I literally don't. I don't even really, and I give it out because Raw Tough Cookie. I use her for example. I think that Raw got a lot of information, and sometimes it might be 1 day for Raw. It might be 29 days out the month. It's all straight educational purposes, informational, and then it might be 2 days, a mixture of both. And you can correct me wrong for that, Raw. But what I would never do is please my channel. I definitely like to keep it on the actual conversation. So the actual conversation of Lola, correct me, it was the actual interview, not a debate, where they were talking about shaming. So 84. With that being said, since we did the whole glitter of everybody's channel, thumbs up. What is your thoughts and on shaming? Or
Yeah,
just shame?
like I said before, what I mean, this is the last time you're saying that. I don't think people should be shamed, but then we need to come up with solutions to help people, and
Fair
that's
enough.
just that's where I land.
Okay.
That was my first point. What I said in the beginning, and and you asked me again, so I'm reinstating it again. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. Mr. IB Privilege, what you got for us, lady? What you got for us? Oh, just by the way, I'm not saying you will. I'm trying to get a brand deal here, so nobody know use profanity. Lola already threw one F bomb.
Sorry.
I want a wine bottle up here, okay? I want something, some gloves, some
You
wine.
don't want me. Take it easy, Rob. Be on the pop patient, all right?
Not saying she will. Yeah, this is my goal. I'm going to. This is my direction. Thank you, Rob.
You're welcome. Here's the thing, like the conversation was what it was, a conversation.
Yes.
Now, the reality of it is people are not gonna see your exact same way, no
Correct.
matter what you do in life. So therefore, if somebody says, "Hey, Robert, you did some content. I would love to have a conversation." We're gonna have a conversation. Am I going to be super emotional and super sensitive about that conversation? Most likely not.
No.
Because if you say something, if you believe in something, if you have a message with a purpose, especially, then you stand on your purpose. That gives your platform exposure. Isn't that the goal of YouTube, or do I have it wrong?
No, I think you're absolutely right. Whatever your channel is about, especially your niche, because I've seen a lot of spaces where people actually have niches and people doesn't have niches. People just have channels to be having channels. So I think those are the main two that I've seen. But yeah, you're 100% right. Can't argue with that. But the most important thing is people do. I hope they do. Most people have goals with their channels. Some people don't. But yeah,
But this is right. This is the thing. So, like, even if you don't have a goal, though, whatever it is you're talking about, you should be bringing authenticity in everything you do, correct?
yeah, you should.
So if I talk to you and I say, "Oh, Great Pill, you have that Joker back there on your wall. Why do you have a picture of all the different Jokers?" Are you going to be like, "Why are you asking me that? Because that
Shit.
sucks." Blah blah
Shit.
blah. Right? You're not going to do that. You're just going to be like, "Because I like the Joker. I think it's dope. Do you want me to like send you a copy of the print? I don't know." Like it's we have to start being adults in this space. Period. On Periana. Like everybody's not your friend. Everybody's not your friend. Everybody's not going to like everything you do. And they'll be okay because they'll get a glass of water and they'll go to bed. Like, what is happening?
Some use milk. Some use warm milk. That's what I told.
That too.
Yeah, but just because you know me, man, I don't like to try to make it about the spaces, whatever. Like I try to, I know you do too. Genuine conversation, like what's going on in life. So just on the shaming conversation, like what do you feel like you see in your space outside in the real world, like far as shaming go? Do you believe in shame? Do you believe that a person can shame another person?
This is the thing. You cannot shame somebody else because the reality is, right? If we're honest, whenever somebody says something to you as an individual about what it is that you do or you enjoy, what do you say? Well, they can say whatever they want to say because I'm going to do whatever I want to do. So if that is the mindset of the majority of people, is there shaming? No, because you're going to do what you want to do. They don't pay my bills. They ain't feeding me. That's not my man. That's not my woman. So the only time shaming as a tactic can be deployed is from a husband to a wife, from a parent to a child.
Yeah. So what about people that don't, like you said, I got my bills and I sleep good at night. What about the people that don't believe in that? Most people get like easily triggered by that. Like like we give an example, like, oh, great, people got that corny mic up there, and I'm like, man, the next day I go ahead and buy like some 200 Shure mic. I felt shame, so that gave me the motivation. I'm not gonna say motivation, but this gave me that fuel to like, let me just change it because of based off one person said something. So what I say about that
what their opinion is, which is the reason why you did that. If you didn't care about their opinion, you wouldn't mentally even think you need to change something. Like if somebody said your light skin is ugly, I mean, how am I supposed to feel about that? Like you're telling me that you don't like the color of my skin and you think that it's not attractive to your eyes. What do you want me to feel about that? I'm confused. So this is what I'm saying. You have to actually care about somebody's opinion before you can quote unquote feel shame, as you put it, to go and change something about yourself.
Yeah, because Robbie said that my picture and my mic was ugly, so I changed it. So I got a little bit insecure. That's it.
Insecure means you care about her opinion.
Yes, shame. She shamed me.
Well, here's the thing. And most people, as Mrs. She said, she doesn't care about someone's opinion. You can't shame her. That's what she said out of her mouth. So if I shame people, yet I cannot be shamed because I don't feel shame, because I don't care about what you're saying about any specific thing. I only care about promiscuity. Then this is what Robbie is saying. You cannot shame someone that is not already shamed within themselves about something. You are not shaming them. Like in her case, for example, she personally feels shame about promiscuity. That has everything to do with her personal walk in her personal life. That has nothing to do with someone else telling her that it's wrong for her and she better do it or else. That's her personal life that she has gained that feeling or that discontentment with, as far as that particular thing is concerned. But aside from that, you can't come to her and tell her anything. And honestly, you can't even tell her anything on the promiscuity because she already said how she feels about that. You're not going to change how she feels about that. So it's like, again, to Robbie's point, how are you shaming?
I'm sorry. I thought I had my mic muted. I apologize.
Very good. Laughter is good for the soul. And yeah, she is. And I'm not disagreeing your point, Eloy, but I'm trying to work up a debate with me and Ross. I need Ross to like give me some feedback.
My God. Okay. Well,
I was trying to fill in a quick point real quick, if I could use an example.
Yeah, go ahead, and we'll let Mandrell chime in.
Yeah, and I'm glad Mandrell is up here because we run a panel together earlier. So I'm thinking like in another example of a perfect place where you can shame, install a little bit of shame, because I'm kind of balanced. Like I said, there's a time and place that's appropriate to shame. And I think one of it is when little children are exposed to certain things, whether in a school or walking down the street in a city, and there might be a inappropriate, certain parade, of a certain community, and a lot of sensual stuff is exposed. Do you think at that moment, is it okay to shame the person doing the parade, the parents having the kid around it, or maybe, is that an okay moment to have some shame against those people that try to expose that to little kids?
You're okay. You're saying, is it okay at that time to have shame? My point to you is everybody in the parade, everybody standing around already has an instant understanding of what's inappropriate. Now, whether they're willing to abide by that or not is an individual decision, right? Based on their individual issues. However, they already know whether or not it's right or wrong or not. But like my father says, people will do what people will do. Some people will get to Z faster than others, but everybody has their breaking point. Some people will feel a certain kind of way and know it's wrong for them and still do it. Other people won't. Other people will think it and do it in the dark. It depends on who you are. However, if I'm standing there and I decide to speak up and say, this is inappropriate, well, this is inappropriate to me. And other people obviously could care less or don't feel the same way I feel. And here's the thing, they have a right to disagree with me and say, wait a minute, I don't feel that it's inappropriate for children to see this. And then they can give their reasons. Now, here's the sad part. Now we at a stalemate. That's the sad part.
Fair enough. Mandrell, you got a thought, sir? Are you there, Mandrell?
Yeah, I'm here. What's your question exactly?
No, not really exactly. Just your thoughts on just shame. Do you believe in it? Do you believe a person can shame the other? Just your thoughts on shaming tactics. Periods. So take it from there.
Black Men Unfiltered and I had a conversation about this over the phone. He's an avid believer in shame. Okay. However, I told him, I said, shame today is not going to work on females, because in order for shame to work, that person has to know that they're doing something wrong, but they're doing it anyway. You know what I'm saying? But people don't. If a person doesn't think that they're wrong, they have nothing to be ashamed about. So you're not going to shame a bunch of women twerking at the burial site of slave ancestors. You know what I'm saying? If they don't think they did anything wrong, you're not going to slave a woman who sleeps with 32 men a night if she doesn't think it's wrong. So for those people who don't think they're wrong, it's not going to work. But a person with a conscience, a person who cares about themselves, it can work. Because that's some things I've said on YouTube, and I've said nothing to nobody, but I go back and watch myself sometimes. I'm like, good Lord. And I'm ashamed of myself. Yourself.
Yeah, there you go. I do it too.
I don't say anything, but I don't say anything about it, but it happens, I'm ashamed of myself. I'm like, God, what was wrong with me? Why would I say that? Oh, because then I'm thinking because that dipshit had it coming. And so then I feel all right. I'm still ashamed. I'm like, I could have said it better.
Right, that's strike for you. That's strike two for you too. I'm trying to get a
that was only one strike. All I said wasn't work.
We ain't trying to do two more now. Lola got one. You got one. Wayne, everybody can't be making mistakes.
How do you jump me to two though? This is not right.
We're all a group here, sir. We're all family.
This ain't the army. You can't mass punish us.
If the ship go down, we got to make sure. Robbie and Lola go first.
Earlier, there was strike one earlier. Lola, now you strike two.
Wait, I gotta go first. Robbie and Lola gotta go.
Women and children first. We got to make sure.
It can't be mass punishing, Marcus.
You got to hold my legacy, bro. You got to hold my legacy.
That's right. We're gonna get it.
Those light skins got to stick together, man.
That's right. Robbie right behind you though. They won't know.
Listen, we go together. Like, come on, we gonna get off first. Like, let's go.
Hey, but
a lot of that comes from how the people are raised. People are raised way too soft today. There's not enough strict upbringing. It's not, or I'll say this: it's not strict enough. Because in order for someone to develop a conscience, they have to be that again. You have to know that you're doing something wrong. That's what conscience is. Unless hey, you were wrong for that. It's your own internal mechanisms telling you that was incorrect, that was wrong, you should not have done it. You learn that throughout life. Otherwise, if you don't learn that a person who doesn't learn that's an incredibly selfish person.
It's called having a conscience.
Conscience are not easily found. They're not easy to develop if you left to your own devices to do it. You know what I'm saying? If you get what I'm trying to say. You know, you and I grew up a certain way, and so did Marcus, so did everyone on this panel, and we were taught right from wrong. But if I was never taught right from wrong, I'm only looking out for my own self-interest. So I don't think that anything I'm doing to anyone else in the name of survival would be wrong, like robbing them or something like that. About themselves.
But Mandrell, would you also say that right and wrong is largely, not absolutely, but largely a relative conversation?
I wouldn't say largely. I think it's largely universal because most things people put in the same binary boxes when it comes to right and wrong. Lying, stealing, cheating, promiscuity, breaking the vows of your marriage, or things like that. Large, but and I can see the rest of it can be seen as subjective.
But see, if you take lying, stealing, and what you said, right, and we put it in context, everyday context, right? Would you say that at that point, when we start seeing context within people's lives, that now it's going to become a subjective issue? For instance, you said lying, right? Everybody says lying is wrong. What if someone comes, let's take Emmett Till, for instance, for an example. If his uncle would have lied and said, I don't know who you're talking about, do you think that would have been the right thing to do versus hand the boy off to the three men?
I think the right thing to do was for that woman to never lie on him in the first place.
No. I'm talking about his uncle. Do you think it would have been? Do you think his uncle would have been wrong to have lied?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. In the right circumstances, it's okay to lie. Yeah, right. Those circumstances. Yes, those circumstances there, I would have lied, and I would have felt the least bit bad, and I would not have felt the least bit bad nor ashamed about it. That I saved someone's life, so it was necessary to lie.
So that's subjective, meaning it's contextual, right? But here's the thing: every lie told is within a specific context within someone's life, and now we're talking about subjectivity. Some people would feel, well, I lied because I was made to feel I couldn't tell the truth. I lied because someone's life was on the line. I lied because my life was on the line. I lied because I didn't know. There's a lot of context that people can get into in their personal lives. So now when I ask the question, well, is this largely subjective? In context, yes, it is largely subjective, but let's just say raw technicality. Oh yeah, lying is wrong until we put it in real life, and now suddenly it's not.
Well, the reason why only pushback I would give to you on this is because I still put lying in a larger category because it's rare that you find yourself in that kind of a situation where it's not completely self-serving. Like people lie to get out of trouble all the time, but that's just self-serving because you don't want to get in trouble for something you either said or did. But
it's called jury duty.
Yeah, the thing is, you could also say the same thing for stealing. Like in the army, I saw this situation. There's some poor people stealing food, right? And the thing is, like, and we caught them once, and my guys asked me, "Hey, we're gonna take these guys in?" I said, "Nah, let them go and give them the food too." Give him the food? Yeah. Why? I can't lock somebody up for trying to feed his family. He was stealing food to feed his family. Like these people they lived in a mud hut in the middle of nowhere with nothing.
Correct.
So how do what in that case, what do? You gonna let that guy starve to death? Or no, dude, just take the food, But I can have plenty, So I mean some people say, no, the guy was stealing. But I'm like, is it stealing though, or is this survival at this point?
Correct. So you see how
point, is this? No, I think like I said, I agree with you in the certain context. Yeah, I can see.
But that certain context is every single day, and everybody has a quote unquote context of which they do things within that allows them to feel no shame, or mostly no shame. Like it's always context. It's never no context. There's always going to be context. So it's like my thing is, if every wrongdoing can be justified in some way, shape, form, or fashion, mostly, I'm not even going to speak absolutely, mostly, how do we sit and say? And this goes back to Mr. Besser's point. How do we sit and say, well, let's use shaming tactics to change behavior versus education and wisdom as a part of our culture? Like, why are we using shaming tactics over understanding and things like that?
I got you. So just like hold on. Let me give you this answer right here, if I may. The same way you use context to say that, okay, put it in context, then it's a different thing. So no need to use shame. In proper context, it is absolutely necessary to use shame in some cases. Like people have been throwing around that Keke Palmer's dress or whatever. You know what I mean? That dress, everyone with two eyes knows that dress was way too much.
Except for her boyfriend.
No, he did, because that's why he called her out on it publicly.
No. Before she walked out the house, he knew what she was wearing, and
he might not have known. So, okay, let's use
according to what they're trying to hide, he knew. So this is why I said it's subjective, because if he felt like it was an okay dress, right? Who can judge him?
I didn't give him a chance to finish making my point, but I got you. Here's the thing. Well, he should have thought about that before he judged her after the fact. But anyway,
right.
The women twerking at the site, at the burial site of some the slaves' ancestors or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. There's no excuse for that, and they know it. The women who did it know it. That's improper. It's in bad taste. It's disrespectful. Anyone with two eyes can see that. So could you shame them? I said, go ahead. I don't think it's going to work on them, because I don't think I think that they don't think they did anything wrong, but that just goes to, again, to their character. So
they could argue. Huh? They could argue that they're doing something disrespectful on the grounds of the people who enslaved their ancestors, to show a manner of disrespect for the people who enslaved their ancestors. This is why they're doing what they're doing. They could justify twerking at a slave castle built by enslavers. They could technically justify that, but this goes back to the point of why are we shaming people, and what is our method of changing behaviors that is actually damaging, not that we opinionate and we propostulate is damaging to our community. Because I got my opinions of things, right? But is it really damaging me? Is it hurting my community? Like, that's the real question. Like, I could have my opinion of her dress, right? But how is that actually damaging me? I have to really be clear on that before I sit and say, oh, let me change what she's doing. Meanwhile, y'all know I might come out in anything dress, but I want to change what she's doing. Like, I have to be clear on that first before I sit and open my mouth to literally physically change something in someone.
I don't. Gotcha. But take a point real quick, because I don't want to long show this, because I do see.
God bless you, 84.
I do see Just Jay's on the panel, so I don't want to long stroke this. So
right, because I got another one for her too after you're done.
I know you do, man. Let me just say this real quick. I think, and I think we all can agree upon this, because y'all both agreeing upon this. Our morality shifts. Our morality as people, as collective, as individuals, it shifts based on circumstances. So you'll say lying is wrong until you're in a situation, and then you have to lie. You know what I mean? So it shifts based on circumstances. Not only that, and I think, my whole thesis of why I think shaming is not a good tactic, because, that's why I feel like we need to have conversation, and we need to come with solution, because we can truly understand why people do and feel and move the way that they move. You know what I'm saying? And then if we do that, now there's no need for shame, because now we have an understanding of why a person feels that way, why a person moves that way, why they think that way, why they behave in such a way, why they don't think certain behaviors are offensive towards children or anybody else, or any religious behaviors are offensive or whatever, right? And we can actually have those conversations. But when we don't have those conversations and we just say this person is wrong, or they should have shame, then it's like, okay, then it opens up the door to, okay, so what do you do in your life that you should be ashamed about? Then it opens that door. You know what I mean? Because when you bring shame or you bring judgment on people, now people have the ability to now shame or attack you. You know what I'm saying? And then it just become a back and forth, and then we get no level of understanding. And that's why it's important to have conversations, have perspective. That's what I try to do on my channel. Try to have conversations, try to have perspectives, so that people can understand each other, and we can get a better sense of who we are as a people, and a better sense of why we do the things that we do. So yeah.
All right, before I let Mandro go, 84, and I know I heard you, but just again, I'm for the slow people in the back of the bus, the person in the back of the church, the people, the ones who looking over, trying to see what Raw put in the collection plate. Oh, she put 5, I put in 2. She put in 10, I put in 5. So do you mind echoing again? Because here in TheGreyPillPodcast, we're about solution basis. So what would your solution be again, sir, before you exit out gracefully?
Oh, say it again.
What would your solution again be for when it comes to shaming? Are you for it, against it?
My solution is let's have conversation so we can understand people's perspective. You know what I mean? Let's hear why they're doing such behaviors. And then I'm not leaving. I'm just I don't want to take up too much time because I know other people are here. But let's have these conversations so we can have that understanding of why people do certain behaviors and why those certain behaviors they believe are actually credible and actually good. You know what I'm saying? And then from there we can just move forward and we can grow as a collective and as a people. But we not having conversations, and I'm like, well, Grey Pill, you wrong for wearing that Mandalorian shirt. You know what I mean? Mandalorian whack. It ain't really part of the Star Wars universe. It's trash, right? Now you're like, yo, hold on, like Mandalorian dope, right? Which I love Mandalorian. I just finished the last season, but but yeah. So that's the point that I'm making. Like, let's have the conversations of why we feel the way we feel, so that we can basically help to understand each other and we can grow. So yeah.
I appreciate it. Metro, you go. Then we'll let Just Jay.
Okay, let's look at the big picture here. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. Now, big picture here is most things in life has its place in proper context. Just as Ms. O'Shun said that, if you look at things in proper context, things are different, so there's no need for using shame. However, what I was trying to articulate earlier is that shame does has its place. If you're doing something that's completely self-serving, like a kid steals a candy bar out of a grocery store or whatever the case may be, and that kid has been taught differently, then say your parent takes you back to that store and make you go to the manager and say, hey, tell him what you did. You know what I'm saying? The parent pays for the candy bar or whatever. But anyway, the embarrassment of having to go back in that store because of what the kid did, that cause and effect is going to bring, it's going to be less likely for that kid to ever steal again, because he's always going to remember that feeling of shame for what he or she had done. So, but if it's in the name of survival, in the name of survival, you can look the other way. Different tactics. You can take different tactics. You know what I'm saying? You can find that person a job to do for you or something like that, so they can earn money, so now they can afford food or whatever the case may be. Or you can just let them have the food, something like that. So when you look at things in context, I don't think you should take shame out of the realm, out of it completely. It has its place also, because it is a very effective way, an alternative to spanking. Very effective alternative to spanking and putting your hands on kids. And it is known to work.
So it's important to teach integrity.
Right. It's important. It also teaches you a very good lesson of integrity, and those lessons stick to you because you're never going to forget it. So I think this shaming does have its place. I'm for it. But just like everything else in life, in the proper context, you can't just shame a kid just because you feel like shaming them. You know what I mean? That's abuse at that point. But yes, shaming does have its place. I'm for it. And as long as it's in the proper context, just like anything else on the planet that we do. So that's the big picture. You can't take it's too important to completely take it off the table.
All right, fair enough. Just Jay.
And also, this is the way.
Oh yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. It is. Oh, dang, he about to make me go in geek mode real quick. Go ahead, Jay. Oh, I'm trying to fight it.
I have spoken.
No. Just for the record, I was rewatching the Rebels, but go ahead, Just Jay. All right, I had to say that. I got it.
Hey, y'all. Hey, panel. Hey, chat.
Hey.
What's up, Jay?
The further the conversation went on, I started to gather more context, because I was to the point like, okay, I just probably need to go and watch the whole video. But Oshun getting up and explaining more of the context kind of gave me a little bit more understanding of how, I guess, the interview transpired. And I mean, it's all subjective. It's neither here or there, but like the energy was kind of tense. So that's why I personally thought it was a debate, because I'm like, okay, if she's just asking her questions, then why is the other person's response like whatever? But yeah, aside from that, it was a conversation to be had. But I Oshun also clarified why she decided to do the interview or whatever with the lady. So I was trying to understand. So she has a segment or something that is about shaming people, or is it like, do she I don't know, look at a situation and then break it down and have a discussion about it, or is it like a drag fest?
I think it, and Oshun can explain it better than I can, because I saw it like a while ago, and I think it was like over a month ago. Lola, right? And then I thought it was real good conversation because I was in the midst of the chat, and I felt like it's something could be rehashed and give everybody perspective on it. You know, Robbie,
Okay.
Medrell, 84, and Marcus, and anybody else. And because I didn't want to put my own little spin on it, because me personally, I feel like when, especially influencers, as one person does that, and it's kind of like maybe in a certain way push a little narrative, and that's and that's not me 100%. I'd rather just have everybody collectively come on and have a
Right.
conversation. Yeah. So, but for the answer to your question, I felt like when she said that, she was saying, "Hey, I'm giving an example or how I carry myself via my channel and my platform as me in person," and that may be one way of shaming somebody. Or if she, I've been on her content as of late, so it might be like, I guess, like how, and I'm not, and I want to say exactly, but you know how like the other in media, somebody try to make a point and they'll show an example of somebody, so that might be a way of showing some kind of shaming tactics, like these are the type of individuals you need to be that's a red flag, or be wary of, or be warned of, something like that. So that's what I think that what her channel and is about, just to show that example and even add some more context to it when conversating. So that's what I think. But just for full context, because that's the name of the right now, context. The conversation will be linked at the bottom below. I think it already is, but if it's not, I'm gonna make sure it is, and everybody can see it in full context, and everybody could judge for itself. But keep in mind, all right, just like the grapevine, when people like to gossip and I tell Robbie something, and Robbie might tell Lola something, the conversation is not going to be the same.
Right.
So when people watch things and they see it, and no respect to Lola or anybody else, we can run and give clarity to the cows come home, but people still going to pick what they want to pick out of the story and take it from there. It is, the person need to be, I hope, try to be the best storyteller they can. But guess what happened? When you read that real good book, everybody gonna have a different perspective of it. So that's what I see.
Okay, so Lola and Oshun is the same person, right? I'm getting kind of mixed
Yes.
up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Oshun, so is, I know you don't have a stance because it was an interview, but was your I guess perspective kind of like, okay, well, since shaming doesn't really work and it's subjective and it's based on the person's perception and how they internalize whatever information they getting from people, what is the point of shaming if it doesn't work? Is that kind of where you was trying to get some understanding with her?
Yeah, and I guess that was maybe a later point, right? Because obviously we had to clarify definitions and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, that would be what would have been like the last point to say, well, given what we know has happened, right, in the past, given what we know is happening now, what is the point of shaming tactics that we have seen that hasn't worked? Like right now, it's not working. It's actually getting worse. We can chart it over the last 300 years to show it's never worked. People were just, as she said, they were more discreet with their shenanigans. However, they still felt free to do the shenanigans. People didn't feel like, oh no, I can't do that because it's wrong and I feel shame. It's like, no, let me just hide it so I won't get in trouble. Like, that's not shame. That's embarrassment at best, but that's not shame. And so it is a legitimate question. Like, well, what are we doing it for? But I think Mrs. She kind of made it clear that whether or not it has impact or not, she feels that it's incumbent upon her to do that, even if it has minimal effect. However, she has a right to fight till the cows come home.
I find that interesting, but go ahead.
Say again.
I say I find that interesting, but go ahead.
Right. I mean, I it's interesting to me that someone would want to continue inside of a method that is exhausting. I'm gonna be honest with you, because there's no shortage of people doing things we don't agree with, and to do something that has minimal effect and stuff. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't do it, but I'm not saying she has to live that way. I just wanted to understand from her what is the point. But inside the interview, you were right. It was tense, and I think she may have walked away feeling like the mere question was telling her something wrong with her when it wasn't that. It was me just asking a legitimate question, like, well, what are we doing this for? Because as you guys saw, I asked her directly, why do you feel shame to be a 304? Like, let me, I know you, that might seem like a basic question, but I'm asking you, why do you feel shame? I don't believe inside the interview that really came out in terms of like literally like, why do you feel shame? Is it because something's bad's gonna happen to you? Because what do you define as bad, right? Catching a disease, is that bad? What if you don't catch a disease? Does it make it okay? Like, let's really talk about why you feel the way you feel. But again, we didn't get there. However, the point still stands. What is the reason for this tactic, and is it the most efficient? I think we came to a consensus that we disagree on many points with that. But in my estimation, I'm not looking at my opinion of shame. I see that in the past, no matter how religious people were, there was no shame. People were vile, and it brought us where we're at right now. So if we're gonna move better, we have to move based on where we're at and where we want to go, not where we've been going. Like in the past, we got it wrong. So now we just need to figure out how to move forward in a way that's best for us based on where we're at right now. And that's a contention I have with different content creators in terms of solutions. It's like everybody wants to go back to what they think was the best time in American history. And it's like we could talk about each decade to show it was the worst time in American history, right? So my question is, why can't we just say, this is where we at? What's going to work based on our immediate needs and our long-term needs based on where we're at right now, without talking about what our grandmother was doing in 1902. Like, let's talk about right now. That's not.
Just Jay just fell off. So I don't know if she's coming back, but
yeah.
Hold on. Crap. Yeah, she's coming back. I'll let her get.
Is you just cuss on your own panel?
I just want to.
I did. I don't think I did.
Miss O'Shun, did you say that y'all didn't come? Are you still looking for that answer? Is my question to you. And if so, I think I can help you.
Well, no, not necessarily, because I think it's the same answer. It can be applied to a lot of things, right? For why we feel shame for one thing versus another. Like, I don't feel shame for certain things that some people would say you should feel shameful, but I do feel shame for other things that people would say you shouldn't feel shameful about that. It is individual, but my point was it's from the individual within the individual, not on the outside. So, I'm not asking that question because I honestly feel like I already know the answer to it, but I'm open to her answering or anyone answering. It's just a matter of, like Mr. Best said, let's have a conversation about why people are doing the behaviors they're doing so that we can get down to the real cause and effect and actually make change. Because right now, if we're just telling them you're doing something I don't like, that's not going to change nothing. Nobody cares about your opinion. But what people do care about is, are you doing something for them that actually is tangibly changing their life in a way that they can feel that makes it better in real time? If we're not doing that, we're not making change. We're just talking shit, literally.
Well, this is the thing.
Can we not use profanity?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm just trying to understand, like, her contention
I didn't
towards
get a chance to finish my point. I was just
she got cut off.
Go ahead, Just Jay. Go ahead. No problem.
Am I cracking y'all? Because I tried to.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, you and Lola were sharing rocks.
Cracking
so
rocks.
It's back on you now.
Marcus, you got a lot of nerve with your hot breath and that microphone.
Well, Just Jay, I mean, nobody told you to eat Pop Rocks before you came up here, okay?
Stop it.
Damn it. If I do, it's watermelon. But anyway, drop the
Really,
Yes, I was being petty at that moment. You leave me alone and jealous.
I think everybody was, and she got kicked off again. So the rocks is on the Pop
Rocks.
Yeah,
now I can finish my point to Miss O'Shun. Here's the thing, Miss O'Shun. I understand your question, and I understand I understand what you're saying completely. What I don't want you to do is what I'm trying to say is I'm making a case for not taking shame off the table completely, but like I said, use in the proper context and at the proper time. I believe that every punishment should fit the crime. I do believe that there's some people who are so heinous that they don't deserve to be here anymore. But that's just me. But when it comes to shame, like I said, it has always been an effective tool for change behavior on people that it works on. Like I said, if you're a person who don't think you're doing anything wrong, then shame ain't gonna work on you. But for people who with a conscience about what they're doing and they know they're doing something wrong, yes, it will work. Because some people, their emotions get the best of them. They're having a good time. They're feeling themselves. They're feeling the moment, and then they start doing things that they wouldn't normally do, and just to have in the name of having fun. But then someone comes up, hey, look at what you're doing, man. Look where you're at. You see, you do know. Well, I'm doing this as an insult to the people who murdered people here. But yeah, people still died here. This is still a burial site.
There's a reason why it's called laws.
Right. It's like this is a burial site. The people still died here. Show some respect for the dead. So like I said, the argument can't be made there. They can try to make the argument, but from my point of view, they lose that one. But I just don't want you to take shame off the table completely, because it is an effective tool for change that promotes change behavior for the better, especially in children. And that's where it's the most important, when you're young. And it's also a good alternative to spanking children. But just like everything else, including spanking or harsh language or raising your voice, you don't overuse it. Just like use it responsibly when it's called for. You're
not wrong in your overall way of thinking. I don't think you're wrong. I just think that because of the society we live in, because it's a free moral society, and people basically get to do whatever they want. Even now, our kids are starting to be able to do literally whatever they can. Literally pick what gender they want to be, how they want to be, and where they want to be. And you can't, as a parent, tell them not to do anything about it. And
why they in my house? I'm gonna tell them, you ain't put no dress on the boy.
All right, we just talked about. We just hold on. Time out. We just talked about solutions, and we're giving like a back and forth. So, is for Mandrell? We'll go back to Just Jay because she kept getting knocked off. We're not. I don't long stroke the panels on here. Then Queen, I apologize. I just saw your message on the in a DM. So I'll let you also go after Jay. But just to be safe and sorry, is it fair to say, 84, that Mandrell gave some solutions as an option? It's not a 90%. It's not 100%, but is that solutions?
The only reason his solutions, I understand them, but it's hard for it to. It's almost impossible for it to work in American society because we have freedom. So people don't have to listen to you. They don't have to feel ashamed. They don't have to do anything. You know what I mean? That's why you have to have conversation with people in order to correct or adjust their behavior or even understand their behavior. Because we are given freedom. That's why we have.
So are you talking about children or adults?
At this point, both.
Well, in children, it does work. Adults, I understand your argument. In adults, I really do understand your argument for real, like really. But if it's your kids, then shame does work because your kids, whether you believe it or not, they don't want to see disappointment in their parents' eyes at them. The kids don't want to disappoint their parents, you know what I mean? Unless their parents are just trash. But and so that's why I say in children it does work. Adults, it may work, it may not. It's some people are going to work on, some people it's just not. But what I'm saying is you take shame and use it as another tool or weapon in your arsenal or another tool in your toolbox. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to child rearing. I just think child rearing is so important that spanking shouldn't be taken off the table. Shame should not be taken off the table. You may have to go in your bag and pull that out just to straighten that behavior out. And what I'm saying is like, I understand what you guys are saying, but what you all are given are solutions like talking to people. I think you should talk to your kids. But those are other tools that we should put in that bag as well, along with the shame, along with with the spanking. You don't just throw that out. Now, abuse, never. That don't even go to the store and look at that.
All right, fair enough. Hold on. Let Jay. Let Jay. Hold on. 84. Jay, go ahead and finish your point when you got disconnected. Then we'll let Queen give her thought, and then definitely solution Queen, if you don't mind, and then we'll go around the table and then we're gonna close out.
Okay, so without backtracking too much. Okay, Oshun gave me clarity on that. So I'll say I do find it interesting that a person would be willing to expend, right, a level of energy on shaming people, even if it's not going to be very effective, right? What that tells me is that in itself is self-serving. You know what I'm saying? Even when we shame people, in my opinion, it's self-serving because I'm saying I'm not comfortable with your behavior. So I need you to stop what you're doing because I'm not comfortable with it. Even though I know you're going to do it behind closed doors, I'm not comfortable. And I do understand that it's important to have boundaries and levels, right? Because as we know, boundaries are definitely getting blurred in society, right? So aside from that, I've never agreed with shaming. Anybody that know me in the spaces know I be telling people shame don't work. These dudes keep hollering, bring shame back. Shame does nothing productive. That in itself, like when it comes to shame, right? It's a self-conscious emotion that you have to experience. That's why I was asking Raw, like, are we on a esoteric philosophical type vibe when we're talking about shame? Because in that regard, I totally understand the conversation, right? Because in order for someone to quote unquote shame me, I have to agree. I have to agree on a fundamental spiritual esoteric level that what I'm doing is shameful. You feel me? And so that's why I was trying to understand the context, because in that regard, I would have to agree. So I totally get that, right? But this is my issue with shame, right? And we've all shamed and we've all been shamed. Like even if my little one do something, what was you doing? What was you thinking? You know better. Okay, I'm trying to bring shame to him. But I mean, is he really processing it? So shame, it triggers the limbic system, right? And so for some of y'all, and like the limbic system is the whole fight or flight. That's what shame triggers in the body. It affects the frontal cortex. It also affects the amygdala. That's the whole emotional processing center. So that's why I will understand that a person will have to identify with what they're saying in order to feel shame, because that's where we process emotions. That's where we regulate emotions, right? And so yeah, connected to the limbic system, the whole fear response. I covered that part. It also affects us like physically and stuff like that. A lot of times you see people that are ashamed, but what they do, they draw in. You know what I'm saying? They curl their shoulders, they hunch over, they want to hide. Shame make you either want to hide or get defensive, right? So how can we instill or impart levels of wisdom and encouragement to help people change certain behaviors that might be destructive in our eyes? How do we get to do that if we put a person on defense, or we put them in a place where they want to hide? They're not going to be able to reflect on their behavior, even if they're open to hearing you or wanting to change. They're not going to be able to reflect on that behavior if they feeling defensive. So with the whole Kiki thing, she got defensive. They both was feeling shame on some type of level, but they both had to agree with what they was doing was shameful, right? And so lastly, eventually, if y'all continue these conversations, like breaking down the difference between guilt and shame would be awesome, because guilt is more constructive than shame. To me, shame brings more destruction, and still, to me, it's self-serving. Out of fear, I'm going to oppress you because I'm not comfortable with your behavior for whatever reason, even with children. And children is a whole nother story, and how shame affects them. I'm not saying I ain't never shamed my kids, because I have. I just try to avoid that because it's not helpful. If anything, they just internalize all those ill feelings that they have. So my solution would be to find better ways to mitigate unpleasant behaviors that our kids have. And a lot of times kids are just doing what they just doing their job. They being kids and they're developing, you know what I'm saying? So smacking or popping a 2-year-old because they waste some milk don't make sense.
It was a gallon of milk. It was a gallon of milk. They gotta go. So with that being, said,
I'm done with that. So
no, you're good. So with that being said, so I mean, I'm Madro gave a solution, 84 gave a solution. So with that being said, so what's your solution for the show?
Like I said, as far as shame is concerned, I feel like it's not helpful, and I feel like there are other positive ways to encourage people to change behaviors that are not that are destructive to them, but they would have to be able to acknowledge that. My thing is always share the wisdom, share what you have, drop the seeds, and they do with it what they want to do with it. So, yeah.
All right. That's a good one. I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're always definitely welcome up here. You're getting better with the panels. Getting better with panels. I love it. Queen Forever 2K. Welcome to the Great Podcast. First time. Got your cherry pop. Appreciate you. You have any thoughts and solutions? And we'll go around and
well, I just don't. I see the pros and cons of shaming and the of doing it and not doing it. So I understand, but I think what you have to realize is that a lot of times to get people to change, there has to be a level of trust that's built with that person, that they understand, they feel like you're coming from a genuine place. Because if you're just saying, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, a lot of people can see it as, oh, you're just hating or you're whatever, and not that it's coming from a genuine space. But I think when you operate in a scope of just wanting to shame people, it's a negative motivation, which can produce a lot of fear, and feels like it's out of fear and punishment and force. So then I think I forgot who said it earlier, where it just makes people want to hide their behavior versus really change it. So they're one way in front of you, but they're different somewhere else. So
exactly.
So the whole point of, and then you also got to realize that, when you always want to point the finger and say, oh, you shouldn't be doing this, you also got to look at what you did. Are you coming from a place of teaching? Are you coming from a place of being a hypocrite? Because people look at that too. Oh, I saw you at the club and you was half naked dancing on a pole. So what you coming at me for? You know what I mean? So, my mother always said, you be the example you want someone else to mimic. And not that you're going to be perfect, but you even admit that. Like with the young people I work with, I already know they be doing crazy stuff. They try to hide it. I always find out, but I'm not here to shame them. Oh, I thought I was going to. No, you ain't. It's not about letting me down. Why did you do that? How did it make you feel? Did you get the result you wanted? No. So what do you think you need to change? I'm not here to make you change. I'm here to equip you and educate you that there's better ways to get where you want to be. That's all. So I think that's the solution. We have to come from I understand that it's a necessary thing, but everybody don't take it. So you got to know your audience. You got to know who you're dealing with. And, we're not cookie cutter shapes. It don't work. Just what tactic worked for Miss Oshun is not going to work with me. So you shaming her, she might flip off and body slam you. You shame me, I might be like, oh, yeah, you're right, I did wrong. But you got to come at it different. So I think you just got to know your audience and come at it with a little, put a little sugar in it. It ain't always got to be vinegar.
I agree. I really like that. And just for my shaming tactic, to everybody else, thank you for, even though your first time being here, not using swear words. So that's my shaming tactic for them. Shame, shame, shame. All right. So Just Jay gave her solutions. Mandra gave solutions. 84 gave solutions. So Marcus, Lola, and then we'll let Robbie go last because she ain't really say anything. We'll let her close out with solutions. So Marcus. Solutions, good sir. Solutions.
Yeah, like I said before, I think anything in moderation. I think there's like constructive shaming, there's constructive guilt, just like you can be abusive on the other end. So yeah, you know, um, just same way it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to abuse one too. So yeah, I'm gonna keep it short. As far as the solution for that, just start from home. Start from home first. See what works for you first.
Fair enough. I appreciate that, Marcus. Miss Oshun, thank you for having the conversation that you and Nikki had back and forth. The link will be at the bottom below for everybody to get their own, since we're talking about context of it, and you can get your own thoughts and opinions of the conversation they had. Yeah, so Ms. Lola?
I would say in terms of solution, right? Instead of people being on social
I just want to put this. I want to put a shame on you real quick.
Lead attorney here.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Don't feel ashamed, but okay. What I was dang on it. What I will say is this, right? I think as a solution, and this is no slight to nobody, but as a solution, I feel, and this is just my personal opinion, that the best way to handle people in terms of correcting their behavior is in the flesh. Being on social media, talking, right, is not correcting behavior. People do not have to tune into anything that doesn't make them feel good, like literally, in the slightest bit. So social media is not a good place to quote unquote shame people. It's just a place to open yourself up for someone to see you as being, as Queen said, a hypocrite, and exposing you. The best way to deal with people, let's say ill behavior, is when you see it in the flesh, in the street, wherever you're at. Have courage enough to deal with it in the moment, and let that be your truth. Don't feel comfortable behind an avatar talking about bad behavior. When you see people in the street doing crazy stuff, be man enough, be woman enough to walk up to them and say the stuff that you would say behind that avatar to their face. And that way you can have a conversation with them. That way they can see you, they can observe you, they can ask you a question if need be. But don't, let's say, as they say, dry snitch, don't get behind, a place where nobody can really see you, and where people don't even have to tune into you, that you need listening to you, and then just kind of talk as if like that is actually shaming, because shaming is talking to the person, not like at the person. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people that tune into these channels that are largely based on shaming men, shaming women, shaming people, are people that already agree with that on some, level. Like, if you share the same religion or ideology or culture. But the people that you want to reach that are doing the shameful behaviors, they're not the audience that is listening to you. They're out in the street. They're on other streams. Go on those other streams. Go out in the street and do that. Don't do that from a place where you can hide. That's where I feel like the best solutions can be, because all I know is when I was a child, when someone corrected me, they didn't correct me from over the phone. They didn't correct me from over a text message. They didn't correct me from over the internet. They was in my face telling me, hold on, that. So it's like, that's where real change actually is happening. Now, if you can't approach these females in Baltimore about what they doing, because you might get your wig snatched back, this is why I said, be careful with this shaming stuff, because you got that out here too. So all I'm saying is, let's deal with it for real, not, virtually. And that's just my solution. Not to say other solutions don't work, but that's a solution that I feel would best be in better taste in terms of dealing with bad behavior, like front end, like in the flesh. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, no one solution is good enough. We're always going to keep Grey Pill working. Your channel was it the Dragon? That's it, right?
Game of Dragons.
Yeah, you're gonna have solutions over there, Game of Dragon. Robbie's gonna give multiple solutions. She always do when she be sitting there putting on all types of bulletproof vests. I think it's Call of Duty over there, but she's gonna always have solutions. Mandrell gonna have solutions, and that's pretty much that's what I like about those type of spaces. Everybody creating a space for themselves. Everybody coming together, say, hey, this is what I did. This is what I contributed into these whether it's toxic spaces or surrounding toxic spaces. Because I know personally, if I see them and I come in a space like, man, there's never nope. You go to Robbie channel, they got it. Oh, they're never no. You can go to Game of Dragons. Oh no, nope. You can go to Mandrell's channel. Problem solved, right? There's an option. So that's pretty much what I feel about Great Pill Podcast. Robbie Privilege. You have any solutions for everybody with come to shaming? Bueller. Robbie, you there, lady?
Robbie? I am here. My bad. I forgot I muted myself over here too. I usually just mute my mic.
Shame.
Yeah.
Shame
on me. Shame the fool. No, listen. Stay in your lane and stay out of people's business, man. You don't know why somebody doing anything they do, and unless you're willing to stand in the midst for them, intercede for them, and give them what it is that they need, who are you to judge? I mean, people want to get biblical. People want to talk about what the Bible says, what the Quran says, this, that, and the third. But last time I checked, you ain't supposed to be judging people, and they'll try to tell you they're allowed to do that too, honey. People do whatever it is they want to do. And the reality is, shame only works on your children. I believe the children are our future. Listen, ain't nobody your baby on social media, man. Talk to people like they got respect. The funny thing is, a lot of people hate Oprah Winfrey, right? Mm-hmm. But Oprah Winfrey changed the world for a lot of people. Not only the way that they view the world, but the way that they interact. And you know how she did that? She did that by being nice. Oprah said, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. She didn't tell people, oh, you bum bitch. I'm sorry. I'll send you a cash app. You can't afford no car, so, whatever. Bruh. That's not what she said.
Bruh.
Yes, she did.
But wait, though. Why you call her above B like that? Okay, we'll go back.
When everybody found out they had to pay the taxes on the cars, that's exactly what she told them. Get a job. The cars were free. They had to pay the taxes on it.
She's almost home. Almost home.
Oh, I can't. Wait. Wait, no, I'm not gonna let y'all do it. Great Bill said
I didn't do nothing. This Mandrell dropped through that in the curveball. I was like, man.
Leave that part out, are you, Robbie? Everybody forgot about that part, though.
No, Great Bill said we closing this show. No, I'm not gonna let y'all do it. But the point is, y'all so mean to people. Y'all so mean for no reason. Seriously. You don't have to be mean. But again, I will say this. We live in America. If you don't like the station, change it. Don't watch the content. But at the same token, if you're a content creator, put your Teflon panties on and sit in the hot seat whenever anybody asks you about your position. Great Pill can tell you I've sat in a bunch of hot seats. Took it like a G. Gave people back what they weren't expecting. That's how you win people to your cause. That's how you make people put some respect on your name and understand. This is business after all, isn't it? I'm going to be quiet, though. Thank you for having me on, Great Pill. It's been amazing. And we're going to debate soon because, is it?
I think I found somebody else, too. Is you... somebody that was on the knowledge relationship team. I think I was poking the bear with them. They say they can cook real good. Yeah, and somebody was on Suzette Speaks channel that does healthy meals. So I was saying I talked to her last stream. So I think she might be a judge. So I don't know. I think we might get to make it like a whole free for all thing. But technically it's gonna be me versus y'all. But that's my cocky attitude on that
free
one.
For all, that sounds like Royal Rumble, Gray.
Yeah, cooking. Everybody
gonna share their cooking now too?
Yeah, but I had the idea like because I was joking around Raw, and it's been like a long inside joke. But I was joking with Raw, like, and I was thinking like we'll just do like a meal prep thing here, and then 3 judges, like what is like the 3 categories, like presentation. Of course, we can't show taste, but we can kind of break down the ingredients and stuff like that, and just like let the audience decide. But then somebody else came into play. I said, well, they can come on too for like 3 of us on a panel, then have a 4th for a judge. and then just have fun with it. Just take it from there. So we'll work out the kinks, but that's pretty much what I was thinking.
Maybe even if we do it on some healthy,
nasty.
Right? Even if we do it on some healthy cooking,
it doesn't matter.
Want the smoke.
It doesn't matter.
You don't want the smoke.
It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Raw got her culinary expertise.
Raw bought 5 stars meal. Don't let Raw fool you. Raw bought 5 stars meal.
Listen, Gray, I ain't even gonna put you on my game, okay? I ain't even gonna.
Don't do that. I got too many. I got too many people. I'm trying to test every chance I get. I got 84 on the game inside, and somebody and Inky was down just to have fun, and then was it E? I'm like, where are these people coming from? And now you're more than welcome too.
Knife skills. How about y'all show knife skills? Because if y'all really
hold on, that's you and them 3 knife skills.
Huh?
Right, that way.
No, I'm saying E jumped in with the conversation. Was like, because when I was on, it was me and M3, my bad, 84. I keep getting M's. Me and M3 was about that life, and then next to know, E jumps like, yeah, me and my son. I'm like, where y'all come from? Then here come Cookie. Yeah, me too. Like, what's going? I was like, man, it's a lot. So
thank you.
So one I guess issue at a time. One issue at a time, but you're more than welcome, Just Jay. I would just suggest because I don't want to discredit nobody, and I have to work out the kinks because I know Robbie got multiple cameras. I got multiple cameras. We got the lighting, so I would just work with each body so y'all can get y'all cameras and lightings up so it can look the best for the conversation. So and just have fun with it so everybody know there's other options out there as far as cooking and culinary skills goes, and just make it fun. But low-key petty, I'm coming for Raw though. Yeah, I'm coming for Raw. But
do we have to schedule a weekend? I can come to your house and we can do a cook-off live and live in color in 4K.
I'm down for that too. I'm definitely down for that too.
Oh, okay.
I'm down for that too.
You can't julienne no carrots. I don't want to hear your mouth. I want to see knife skills.
That way.
Just say I want to see you, Julienne. I want to see you, Julienne, some carrots. I need to see. Show me your knife skill. I want to see you do it.
Yeah, that's man.
My knife skills are superb, sir. I got over 15 knives sitting in this house right now.
The number of knives does not indicate skill. I mean, I'm just saying.
Thank you, man.
Yes,
it does. I got seal pats. I got whisk. I got long whisk, short whisk, flat whisk. I mean,
you still got to know how to use it.
Oh, I mean, if they in here, I definitely know how to use it. Who buying several different kind of whisk just to look at them?
People do all kinds of things.
I mean, can you make a bechamel from scratch? Can you make a quick bechamel? Because it don't take me 10 minutes to make a bechamel.
Okay, cool. I can make creme brulee.
Anybody want no creme brulee?
Oh, that's a problem. You're not coaching.
This is the way.
You ain't coaching. How you gonna tell me you know how to use knives, but you ain't coaching enough?
Shut up, Marcus.
How you tell me you know how to use knives?
You're trying my life. You about to make me go and pull out my dang. See you.
You're not pulling no weapons out on. You're not pulling out no culinary weapons.
No, I love Just Jay. I do this like. Other people mess with Just Jay. They mess with, but me, I'll poke her a little bit and leave her alone.
Oh, he's like,
because I've seen her. I see what happens with Just Jay swinging the action. I'm like, yeah.
Whatever. Listen, you ain't seen me swinging the action in a while. I be leaving people alone.
I built this place. Down here, I make the rules.
Right. Well, how about you follow your rules?
Not the Merovingian, really?
And get me.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.